How's it going, everybody? I am Donuts. I'm here with my fiance, Thermite Kitty.
That's me.
This is the Black Lives Matter All Cops Bastards trans rights supporting channel. If you're not supporting that shit, get the fuck off this channel. Now, let me preface this by saying I had a lot of medical shit happen, mistakes and everything that have caused me to have a lot of shit going on right now. Feeling a lot better than I normally was, but if I have any facial tics, that's why. Just want to address that up front. That's why I'm missing a tooth now and all that shit. Anyway, this is a essentially discussion of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Duelist arc that I've read for the first time. If you are new to this channel and it's the first video and all that, reading through Yu-Gi-Oh! For the first time. I had started with the original Yu-Gi-Oh! Manga, then moved to Duelist Kingdom, and now I'm going to be continuing on with all the shit and everything like that. You can get those reactions on my Patreon. I cannot host them on YouTube. I would if I could, but every time I've hosted a series from Shueisha on my YouTube channel, it has gotten the entire channel shut down. It is bad copyright shit. Can't even do like highlights, or I mean, sometimes do like shorts and stuff like that, but nothing longer than that, or it's really bad news. So, if you want to see them, you gotta go on the Patreon to get them. And they're good reactions. I know it's my own shit, but I'm saying they're good reactions. Go check them out, okay? So,
yeah. I mean, I've been watching them. They're good.
Yeah, they're great. So this is a discussion talking about the arc. One is a redirect, essentially, to say, like, hey, go check those out. But also just as a general, my thoughts on the arc and all that stuff. So if you want to see my first reaction to everything and not, like, hear me talk about it first and then go see my reaction, I would recommend going to watch the reactions first, then coming back to watch this. But you know, you could also watch this, and if you like my opinions or whatever, go watch the reactions. I don't know. So, yeah, you have seen basically all of Yu-Gi-Oh, right? You still play Yu-Gi-Oh nowadays and all that shit?
Yeah.
So, you are the one who's going to be like sort of hosting this essentially and leading it, I guess. I've taken a lot of notes of what I want to talk about too and everything like that, but I'm going to let you take the lead on this one. So, go ahead, start us off with whatever you want to start off with. And if you have any specific questions as well, ask those. You know what to do.
Yeah, the first thing I want to ask is, going into, like, the very end of, pre-Duelist Kingdom, I remember in our discussion, you were talking a lot about, like, oh, is this going to be, like, a bit of a rewrite? Is this going to be, like, a relaunch of the series? Like, Are they going to stop talking about all the previous stuff?
Yeah. So you just want to know, like, what I think about it now?
Yeah, like, overall.
I was definitely very, very surprised, especially, like, I talked about it a little bit in my reactions, but I gotta keep telling myself this is only for YouTube, so I might say a lot of stuff that I've said in my reactions already, but this is primarily for people who aren't able to get those reactions. So, when I uploaded the short of my reaction, I think it's titled, like, First Time Seeing Kaiba Land, because, like, the building says Kaiba Land on it, but it's also like, it is Death Tea. And I was like, do people know what Death Tea is? Because this is the original Yu-Gi-Oh! Manga, and I don't know how much anybody knows about the shit that was going on in the original Yu-Gi-Oh! Manga. Because one of the only things I do know is that people find the original Yu-Gi-Oh! Manga to be crazy and way different than what they're used to and everything like that, and I just know that colloquially, like, a lot of people have not read the original Yu-Gi-Oh! Manga / Season 0 is even very different from the original Yu-Gi-Oh! Manga. So, I wasn't sure how, were people even going to know about Death Tea, or does that name mean anything to people? But it does come up, like, a lot, and I'm glad that the characters, constantly refer to all that shit, because like, it's very clear, very early into Duelist, that we're not doing a reset and all this stuff does matter, and we're just continuing on. And obviously, of course, I know that the name Duelist, like Yu-Gi-Oh! Duelist, is an English thing, and it's not like in the Japanese, and the Japanese is just all one manga, it's just called Yu-Gi-Oh! So I'm aware of all that stuff, but still, I was curious, knowing that we're going to do Duelist for the game, Duel Monsters, for the rest of this. I was very curious if there's going to be a reset. Very early in, it was clear there wasn't, and I'm glad about that. And just going forward, like, everything that happened to those original Yu-Gi-Oh! Arcs is still continuing over and still matters in major ways, like when the dual discs come up and Jonouchi is really good at them because he does yo-yo very well. and like other stuff related to Millennium items that we'll get to later, shoddy and everything like that. Like there's so much that is very impactful from that stuff that is still carried over into Duelist, and I'm glad about that.
Yeah.
It shouldn't have been a big surprise, and I mean, it wasn't a huge surprise. It was much of a surprise as like a slow realization of, okay, good, it all still does matter. We're not doing like a hard reset, and yeah, I'm glad about that. I am curious. I think I've asked you this question before, but I've forgotten. In the Yu-Gi-Oh anime, season 1, essentially, how much of like a recap is there of the original, / like do they just recap that stuff when they get to mentions of it?
They do, like, it's a combination of, for stuff way in the past, like, how each of the like members of like Yugi's friend group became his friends. We get a quick flash to that, but then there's some things that are just like rewritten, like for instance, Death Tea does not happen in the canon of the second, of what we call Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters.
It doesn't. Wait, sorry. Say that again.
So in episode 1 of the anime, they have to quickly it's not original, but it is a highly abridged version of like all the Kaiba stuff up to that point.
Okay.
Like Kaiba goes to the game shop, he pulls out all of his cards, and he's like, you have the fourth Blue Eyes White Dragon in the world. I'm gonna buy it from you. And Grandpa's like, no, this is from a friend. Not gonna do that. And then we hard cut to like Yugi getting a call, or not a hard cut, but like later in the day, we get a call and it's like, Kaiba, called out, Grandpa to this location to duel him. And then they go to the location and it's like, oh no, the holograms are too powerful. I'm having a heart attack.
Okay, so wait, so Kaiba never experiences death in season 0 or season 1? I mean,
no, he does not experience death.
So, okay. I feel like that changes everything about his character.
Like, the way they handle that is, like, at the end of his duel with Yugi in episode 1, when he gets, like, the evil exorcised from him, he has the penalty game. That is treated afterwards as being his experience of death, in a sense. They combine them both.
That's fucked.
Yeah, like we don't have the like slow brooding rumination. It does shift the character a little bit. Like they more or less just, like have him be the same as he is in the manga. But it's really it's not as impactful. The manga does it a lot better, just by virtue of giving you more time and, allowing him to have a grudge, or like, obviously we don't meet Mokuba until Duelist Kingdom. So it is this big swerve in the first few episodes of like, oh, I guess you're Kaiba's brother. What the heck does this mean? Or like, like Honda later on doesn't, have a deep, care for Mokuba because Mokuba never saved him during Death Tea. There's butterfly effect stuff.
Oh man, that changes so much shit. Oh man, that's so it really bothers me. Like that fully changes because like Kaiba is probably my favorite character in all of Yu-Gi-Oh, and I would not like him nearly as much if he wasn't so justified in everything that he does. And like in the anime, it seems like it's way more petulant, which is how he is originally introduced. To be fair, like he is the petulant fucking kid who just steals Yugi's card and tries to pull it out in the middle of a game like, oh, this is actually my card. But like, that changes so much. The fact that he doesn't like experience death and then ruminates on that for like a long time, and we don't know how long he was experiencing death for. And like having Mokuba be introduced as like a huge character early into Yu-Gi-Oh and sticking around for a long time and being the like the good-hearted one of the Kaibas, and then slowly like he's the one who learns first, even though he's introduced second. And like all of the fact that like all of Death Tea is done because he wants a card it changes everything, rather than like I'm doing Death Tea because Yugi made me experience death, so now I want him to die.
Like it gets squeezed down into, I want this card, I am willing to kill Yugi's grandpa in order to get this card, just through the holograms. There was still a very clear, like, I know this is gonna fuck with this old man. And then, yeah, it comes off way more antagonistic. And I do think this change to the very start is part of why, like, in the anime and in the dub, especially, like, Kaiba comes off being a lot edgier, and people like Mokuba a lot less. Just because it's, like, the way we are introduced to both those characters is very different. Yeah.
Like, yeah, I understand why people would like Mokuba a lot less if he just, like, was not really introduced, and he just suddenly comes out of nowhere as, like, hey guys, I'm Kaiba's brother, and I'm gonna save him, and...
Yeah, it kind of just instantly becomes a damsel in distress.
Yeah, and, like, yeah, Kaiba becomes an edgy character rather than, like, an extremely justifiable protagonist-esque character that he is in the manga. And, like, for the uninitiated... Again, he steals Yugi's card, and then Yugi makes him experience death. There's not, like, some other big thing he does. It's the most fucked up shit. And, like, as we get the big reveal in Duelist Kingdom, it's like, yeah, you have evil inside you. There's a literal, like, evil intelligence in you. And, like, now, Dark Yugi has, like, toned that down a hell of a lot because Yugi's gotten a control of him. But originally in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Manga, he's a fucking menace.
Because I think also, like, the manga helps highlight why, I'm skipping ahead a tiny bit, but Yugi gets worried about, the evil intelligence. Like, he is upset at the idea that his darker half is, willing to kill Kaiba. And that makes a lot more sense when you consider, all of what happens in the first part of the manga. The fact that, like, he was being, someone who was defending other people, but fundamentally, like, Dark Yugi was still, like, was sentencing so many people to awful fates worse than death constantly. Is just like, I'm just gonna do that. And Yugi is little Yugi is so innocent and small and kind that he would never sign off on that kind of thing.
And we have the memory thing going on, so he doesn't even know about that.
Yeah, it is this dark history, and he sees, like, just a glimpse of that side of Dark Yugi when he's willing to kill Kaiba.
Yeah. I mean, even through, like, all Duelist, we have that, dynamic of, like, Yugi's, like, like, I'm classic. Like, if I just say Yugi, you know which one I mean. I'll say Dark Yugi, I mean Dark Yugi. But, so Yugi doesn't know about 90% of the shit that happens during the original Yu-Gi-Oh! Manga. And still, at the end of Duelist Kingdom, he doesn't. Dark Yugi has not explained what has happened about any of that shit. His friends haven't, like, explained, because, like, it's kind of confusing for them too, so I'm not, like, blaming them. But yeah, like, he doesn't know, and he's not being told, so when he almost kills Kaiba, or, like, is willing to let Kaiba die, it comes out of nowhere, and he's like, whoa, what the fuck?
Yeah.
So, like, I fully, like, it. It's not like he was fine with it before, and now he's changed. It's like, no, Yugi doesn't know. Like, he just doesn't know. And, like, as you said, a lot of times he's doing it to protect people or whatever, and that's why, like, the Kaiba one stands out so much, because it's not he's doing it to protect his friends, he's not doing it to protect his grandpa, he's doing it because this kid stole a card, and they're kids.
Yeah.
And, like, everybody else is, like, they're at least drawn like a gigantic, towering person that has all this authority, or they are criminals on death row, or terrorists and shit like that. Like, you get it more. But with Kaiba, he's a small, little, like, 15-year-old boy.
Yeah.
And, like, that's the setup for everything to do with Kaiba going forward. And yeah, also, like, doing Death T in one episode is wild, because then you get the, like, I imagine you get the Kaiba killed his father. No, he didn't actually. Like, so quickly. Like, that's this big buildup of, like, oh, Kaiba is actually pretty fucking evil. He killed his father, which we learn after all that, way after the original Kaiba stuff, and then we get the reveal. But when you don't have that, this, like, separation, when that all comes so fast, and you don't have Mokuba as well there during that whole backstory, is crazy. And then, I imagine in Duelist Kingdom, when Mokuba has the pin, like, the necklace thing with Kaiba's picture in it, like the torn picture and everything like that, like, people would probably be like, where the fuck did that come from? Because that is in the original Yu-Gi-Oh! Manga. But I imagine that comes out of nowhere, because you don't see him there during Death T.
Yeah, it's very shuffled. Like, yeah, we don't get any Kaiba's backstory in episode 1.
Oh, okay.
Like the stuff about his dad and all that, like that comes way later, just because they, had to, because they didn't want to stuff it in episode 1, because there's still so much happening there.
I'm glad though, because you need a little bit of separation there, so that's better.
Yeah, or like when Yugi and his friends, or when Anzu specifically, like, draws the smiley face on their hands, like that is just a, oh, you're going to duel Kaiba. Before you do that, let's draw this on our hands so you know that we're with you. But, it's way less of a, like, pressure cooker situation, as opposed to in Death Tea, where it was, we're in the shaft, we think we're just gonna die, like, this isn't the death game. Kaiba just locked us in a room, and I guess we're gonna starve to death.
Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah, that's so wild. What about Monster World? How does that get adapted?
Monster World is... It's semi-adapted later on in Duelist Kingdom. It is... where is that specifically? It's after the Rex and Joey fights.
Okay.
And it is the most, like, vague adaptation, in the sense that it is essentially just, like, Dark Bakura
is it a
and...
flashback?
No, it's happening, like, in the woods.
What the fuck?
That's the thing, like, it's not even an RPG. It is just that they are playing, dual monsters, but Dark Bakura, like, puts everyone's souls into the cards.
Okay. Oh my god.
Like, but it is that arc, just in the sense that that's also when we get a bunch of exposition about, like, by the way, Bakura has, like, the Millennium Ring. Also, he's been here this whole time. Like, who is this person? Why are we, like, why is when we do get the flashbacks of the friends in the past, he's not there? Or, like, why wasn't he there during, like, episode 1?
Yeah.
Like, he is even more the other guy, because there's no setup for him in episode 1. It's just like, yeah, they went to Duelist Kingdom, and he's here too.
So glad this is the way I'm experiencing the series.
Yeah, there's some stuff I do genuinely like a lot more in the anime, but it's there's a lot of downsides as well. Like, it is very much, it is very unique of an adaptation.
Yeah, I imagine a lot of the people who were like Japanese fans probably enjoyed it a lot because they read the manga and then also watched the anime and stuff. Because it was already becoming such a big hit just as a manga, like the game was becoming a thing. So it's even more like a lot of these people watching the anime are already fans, rather than, I doubt it was like a huge also influx of new people as well. It might have been, because also kids watch anime, whereas a lot of kids don't read manga, but like, still.
Yeah. Yeah, like, I will say that the second anime was such an explosion. Like, the first anime existed, but it wasn't that big of a hit, when it was coming out. And it didn't, like, wasn't, like, a big thing that people, like, looked afterwards. It was really, like, the second anime was the big explosion riding the wave of the card game becoming really big.
And to be fair, that, like, anime was coming out, like, very early into Duelist Kingdom. Like, that was coming out before the card game was really even catching on as a big thing.
Yeah. Like, there was... like, as promo for the second card game, because, initially they did one that was, magic and wizards, and, like, the cards were totally different, and it wasn't really a game you could play very well. For the second one, very early into... this was pre-anime, actually. This was just the manga. They did a thing at the Tokyo Sky Dome, or, it's not called the Sky Dome, but, the big Tokyo Dome, where they were, like, just giving away cards, and so many people showed up that it broke all the security. The area was, like, packed with people trying to get these free cards, and they had to eventually, like, just cancel the whole event to tell everyone to leave.
Wow.
Because there were, like, hundreds of thousands of, kids and adults and just people there, and at this point, the second card game was also being treated as, like, this isn't really a game, like, you can play it, like, it all makes logical sense, but we're giving away this card just because it's a fun thing that you can have.
Wow.
Like,
and
no
was
one's
that
going...
before or after the card-ass cards?
This was after the card-ass cards.
Oh, okay. Isn't that, like, Series 1? Like, of the original card game, or the official card game?
The card-ass cards are, like, still, like, not part of the, like, the second card game.
Right. I'm saying, wasn't the second card game actually like the what do you call it? Like, wasn't that the official card game, OCG?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, what I'm describing is the release of an OCG card.
Okay, gotcha. Oh yeah. I'm sorry. I'm just looking at the order of the set releases like right now, and yeah, like that's after the first like 3 boosters. But yeah, that is like when actual cards were being made to, like, that you could actually play the game with and stuff.
Yeah.
And we had the card house cards, which also had a lot to do with season 0 of the anime. But yeah, also before then we also had the capsule monster chess tournaments and stuff.
Oh yeah.
So like it was definitely a thing. Like there was definitely stuff going on and everything like that, but it was not nearly as big as it was even going to get, and that was all still before the anime. Like even when it launches and huge success with the card game, that's still before the anime, like the season 1.
Yeah.
But yeah,
it was just a juggernaut.
Oh yeah. And yeah, I'm glad that, the original Yu-Gi-Oh! Manga was also quite a big success. I mean, the fact that they were having tournaments for capsule monsters is really cool. Like, I never would have expected that, but that's amazing. Still sticking with this, The Man from Egypt, how did that arc get adapted? Or did it?
That gets adapted, I believe, after Pegasus gets defeated.
Okay. That,
like
after he gets defeated before the epilogue.
Yeah.
Okay. Now again, how does that get adapted? Is Shoddy just at Duelist Kingdom?
He shows up after all the things we had in the manga that were like, oh, Pegasus knows Shoddy, or like, hey, that's a picture of Shoddy. That is just like foreshadowing in the anime.
Okay.
It is a big like, who is this person?
Gotcha.
And then I don't remember exactly how this goes. Like, we'll get there like as we go through the arcs.
Yeah.
But yeah, after Pegasus gets defeated, Shoddy meets Yugi and then does the big like, okay, you have the puzzle. You defeated Pegasus. Stuff's going down. I need to check your mind right now to to see who you are. Like, what is going on? And then that's when he goes into the mind and is like, okay. Like, there are 2 minds, all that stuff, and then that is it. Like, after he goes in, he verifies that, okay, this Yugi is nice, this one is a mystery, but he did save my life. They part. Like, the rest of the entire arc, like, all the other challenges and stuff don't happen in the anime.
Okay, so, like, does the cast have a, like, pretty good, I guess it would just be Yugi. Like, do any of them, how do any of them feel about Yugi? Because does Yugi know that happened to him in the anime?
Yugi does know that.
Okay. Because, Yugi doesn't know most of that stuff unless they've talked off screen. Like, unless Yugi and Dark Yugi have talked about it off screen, but, well, that couldn't have possibly happened because they weren't able to talk until very recently. But, like, most of the cast hates Shoddy because he tried to kill them.
Very understandable.
So, like...
Whereas, in the
anime, how is that?
None of them know who Shoddy is, like, after this point. Like, it's just Yugi who meets him, and therefore Yugi doesn't even, like, really bring it up to any of them.
Okay.
Like, I believe he does later, is just, like, when they start talking about other, like, mysteries and whatnots. But at that point, it's just like, yeah, I met a guy, and he was also magic. He had Millennium items, and we were okay, so I guess we're fine.
Okay. Is there anything else that gets adapted that you think would be interested to tell me about?
I don't think there's anything else that, like, is very interesting. Like, their stuff is just, we get flashbacks to, like, Yugi being bullied and all that, but that just comes up when you would expect it to come up.
Yeah. I mean, stuff like Capsule Monster Chess or, the Soul Battles or anything like that.
Capsule Monsters we'll talk about in a different arc.
Okay.
But Yeah, but like in here we don't really get it at all, and so like Mokuba doesn't really have a thing as well. His thing is just, I need to save my brother, and then oh no, my soul is gone.
Oh my god. But yeah, I cannot imagine how like I get why Kaiba is so much more of a joke in the anime. Like versus like everything, like going into Yu-Gi-Oh, I was expecting Kaiba to be very memey. Like
Yeah.
I was expecting to be very Dio-esque and like how over the top and like memeable he is and stuff like that, but that's really not the case in the manga. He is so much of just the other protagonist.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Like he's not even like he's a villain in the original Yu-Gi-Oh, but he's not in Duelist. He is just the other protagonist.
Yeah. Whereas, like, in the anime, I would say he has to do both because there isn't that long arc of him being a villain.
Yeah.
So instead, he is just kind of a villain throughout, but also, like, he is just a bad, he's just a very prickly rival character. Like, extremely prickly.
Like, in the anime, when, he duels with Yugi or, like, duels with Jonouchi or, whatever, does he have, like, the throw the head back laugh sort of moments,
He does with Jonouchi. I don't think he does with Yugi.
Okay. Because, yeah, like, that used to be a very big part of his character, which is now, like, after he has put together the puzzle of his heart, he is, like, fully changed to be someone who is just way more serious and way more emotional about everything. But anyway, I think we can move away from the adaptation stuff now.
Yeah, a bit will come up as we go through the arcs, but yeah.
Okay. But yeah, man, very fascinating to know about that stuff. Like, that changes so much.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, does episode 2 of the anime start with the Duelist Kingdom thing? Like, is it like a fresh start sort of thing from episode 2?
Episode 2 immediately starts with, like, Yugi getting the tape from Pegasus.
Right, okay. So, like, episode 1 was, like, fully self-contained sort of thing, almost.
Almost, yeah. Like, it ends with a shot of Pegasus. Like, it ends with Pegasus's butler telling him, like, hey, someone in the world has defeated Kaiba. And then he's like, oh?
Okay. It does make sense, because there is, like, quite a lot of time that happens between Kaiba getting defeated and then Pegasus, like, going after Yugi because of that.
Yeah, whereas this really tightens it up to, like, presumably Pegasus has been talking to the Big Five, or, I mean, he has been, but this is just the moment immediately of, okay, someone has finally defeated Kaiba. KaibaCorp is no longer being run by the world's best gamer. Now we can, start this.
Is Kaiba in a coma for, like, a day?
Basically.
So, because he's in the coma for months in this, like in the manga. So that is wild.
Yeah. Like we'll get to some of the changes there when we get to the puppeteer.
Okay. So I guess you want to start off with just like the beginning of Duelist Kingdom and everything like that, like. Let's just, like, before we get into any of the actual duels, or I guess, it was still the duel between Yugi and Pegasus over the TV and everything like that. Which is, okay, so, first off, the introduction to this arc was incredible. Like, definitely up there with some of the best introductions to an arc out of anything I've ever read. Like, it's up there with, like, the very beginning of Kaiji, some One Piece arcs, what else is like really good introductions to an arc? But those are the two that immediately come to mind. But either way, I would put it up there with like the arc itself is great as well. But the thing that is going to stand out with me the most forever is going to be the beginning and also getting a decent epilogue as well. Like, I'm very tired of reading arcs and then it it would be like in so many other manga, Yugi versus Pegasus, and then bam, it's over, move on to the next arc. But like, I'm glad we get chapters in between there. So, like just everything to do. I also just love all the paraphernalia going on in the whole arc with the gloves and the stars and all the different ways we play duel monsters.
There's so much, and like I also appreciate that from the very start of this arc. Like we started off with like Yugi and Jonouchi like playing at school, and then we see a bit of the championships between Insector Haga and Dinosaur Ryuzaki. Like they are immediately like Takahashi is immediately trying to make you go like, this isn't just like the normal Yu-Gi-Oh crazes. This is worldwide. This is so enormous.
Yeah. I would say it is similar to them in some other ways. Like, a lot of the stuff we do in Yu-Gi-Oh! Is, this thing is popular in America, and now it's becoming popular in Japan.
True.
That's, like, the very traditional, way that we've been introducing to a lot of games in Yu-Gi-Oh! But, yeah, also, like, the whole VCR tape thing that we get, and the whole, like, all gathering around the TV to watch the Duel Monsters competition, and even like Grandpa being trapped in the camera and everything. It's all so like a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh has to do with like fads and trends and everything like that, and that was like really when a lot of the VCR stuff and like videotaping events like became a big thing.
Yeah. And
so like I really like it for that as well. Like outside of even the card game, we're still having this like fad sort of stuff going on. I don't know, I wouldn't really say VCR was a fad, but still, you know what I mean. It was becoming very popular to like record on VCR tapes around that time.
Yeah, it's very rooted in that exact era.
Yeah. And yeah, like the idea of sharing half of his stuff with Jonouchi going into it, really cool idea, rather than like Jonouchi also just being invited because he's Yugi's friend and plays games all the time with him. And also, Jonouchi was just such a non-dueler kind of character, in the original, it's basically just Yugi doing everything, so having Jonouchi be a major part of this was so fun.
Yeah, it is such a big switch to have him go from, like, Jonouchi is, and still is kind of, he is the fighter, he is the guy where, like, if for some reason you're trying to punch Yugi, like, he will intervene, he'll fight 30 guys for, like, hours.
Yeah.
But to put him in this situation where he doesn't really know how to duel that well, and also the stakes are insanely high for him, and also like he's gotta use his brain instead of punching.
Yeah.
It's a really good switch of like Yugi / Dark Yugi, mostly Dark Yugi, is so good at the game immediately, you're not worried about him. So he is the badass, like beats everything super easily protagonist, and then Jonouchi is the I don't know if he's gonna survive this one protagonist. Like he's the one who's always like at a disadvantage, and simultaneously like splitting their star chips allows Yugi to have to work harder, and he has to like do more dueling than he would have to at the very start because he's starting from 1, and Jonouchi is even more at a disadvantage. Like they get to also be dual protagonists in this really interesting way.
Yeah. And, like, yeah, I'm glad that we didn't just get, like, here's the main Jonouchi match of Duelist Kingdom. Like, we got quite a bit, and I really appreciate that as well.
Yeah.
Like, he got to be a serious character as well. And I appreciate having, like, most of this, even though I find a lot of the ways that Yugi won to be bullshit early in Duelist Kingdom, I do appreciate that it's not as bullshit as early Yu-Gi-Oh! Where Yugi, like Dark Yugi, doesn't have to be good at the games because he just has an automatic win button that he presses every time he starts to lose.
Yeah.
So, I'm very glad that there wasn't a moment in Duelist Kingdom where Yugi pressed his automatic win button. The only time we get close to that is the puppeteer person, but
yeah,
even then that's a Kaiba sort of thing. I liked that a lot more.
Yeah, like I appreciate that in the manga especially they do continue this theme of the heart of the cards in a more symbolic way, like the Kaiba taking control of the Blue Eyes. Like the Blue Eyes refusing to attack Yugi in that match is a direct parallel to Grandpa's Blue Eyes not attacking Yugi the first time that Yugi and Kaiba duel.
Yeah, I really like that sort of stuff. It was much better than a lot of the shit we were doing early on, where like Yugi would just instantly make someone face a penalty game.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't win by being better at the game, he just won by going, fuck it, penalty game. Also, was so surprised that we got so little penalty games in this.
Oh, yeah.
Like, man, so I hope we get more going forward, but there's also a lot of people in this that we couldn't do it with because they would be, like, really bad to do it to them.
Yeah, like I think, Yugi's horror at the concept of killing someone would not have landed as hard if, as soon as they got off the boat, Dark Yugi's walking around just murdering people and sending them to hell for being not that bad.
Yeah, for just being, like, kids who are cheating or whatever.
Yeah.
And, like, also, it was really fun to have an arc where a lot of the people we were going up against were other kids. Which feels crazy to say, but that's just not really much of a thing we got in early Yu-Gi-Oh! We got it maybe, like, very, very early on, like, but still, out of all the arcs we got, it was so infrequent.
Yeah. Like, early Yu-Gi-Oh! Loves to do the, like, here is the, like, unsurmountable, terrifying person. Like, even the early kids are, like, someone who looks like he's 30.
Yeah.
Someone who is 5 times Yugi's size. So, like, this does not feel like kids fighting kids.
Mm-hmm. And the times he does face kids turn out to be, very important characters like Kaiba or Bakura or someone that seemed insignificant at the time, but now is definitely way more significant, but we'll get to that at the end. But anyway, yeah, just very, very cool, like, overall as an arc, like, loved all that stuff, but I guess you want to get into our first duel and talk about, like, each duel now? And then we can go into some more overarching stuff. So, our first duel was Yugi versus the national champion, Insector Haga. Every time I'm going to ask, what was their name in the anime?
Weevil Underwood.
Weevil Underwood. I like the last name. Like, I mean, I like both days. Like, I like Underwood for, like, a bug kind of person. That's cool. It's clever.
Yeah. I appreciate that, like, 4Kids understood what they were doing with, like, the pun names and whatnot.
Uh-huh. Like, yeah, it's not too over the top. I mean, Weevil is pretty, but that's a little bit much, but... I mean, to be fair, I don't know what Haga translates to. It might be something bug-related, I don't know.
It probably is.
Yeah. Anyway, I mean, like, we also had, to be fair, the other, like, runner-up national champion, like Dinosaur Ryuzaki. That's like dragon something. Like, that has nothing to do with dinosaurs. So maybe Haga doesn't. Could just be a name. But I don't know. Anyway, Yugi versus Haga. Not a whole lot to say there. It was our big, Yugi's going up against the national champion, and because it's Japan, he fucking sucks.
I think, like, this duel is more interesting just because of what happened on the boat. Like, the fact that, Weevil throws away Exodia.
Yeah. And also, we didn't get that back. Like, that's the most surprising thing. I appreciate that didn't come back as, like, the way that Yugi wins in the final duel or anything like that. Like, it truly was, okay, there's no more Exodia. Arc's over. Still no Exodia.
Yeah.
So, I don't know when that's going to come back. If it will. Like, I mean, I'm sure it will, but, like, is he going to have to, like, buy more cards? Or is there going to be some miraculous way that the cards wash up on shore and somebody else finds them and duels Yugi with them?
Yeah.
And even then, I'm not sure how he's going to get them back, because out of all of Duelist Kingdom, there was one time where we did what Duel Monsters is supposed to be, which is when you win a duel, you win the opponent's cards that you beat. And that only happens once with Ryuzaki.
Yeah.
So yeah, or I guess the Puppeteer guy, I think we just take his cards. Like his whole deck. But it wasn't his deck to begin with.
Yeah, I think early on, like, Yugi states at one point with one of the player killers, like, I'm not going to take your cards, you don't have anything I would want.
Yeah. But yeah, so, as you said, the stuff on the boat with Haga was the most, like, interesting thing going on there. And just, like, him being such a little shit and everything like that. But, yeah, his style of fighting is terrible. Later on when we get to Bandit Keith and everything like that, and we see the whole, like, American tournament, and it's like the national tournament in Japan had, like, maybe like 1,000 people or like a couple hundred, and then the one in America was like nearly 1 million people watching or whatever.
Yeah, it was massive.
And like, yeah, I mean, Bandit Keith is also, he's pretty good as we see way later on. But like, you know, he makes sense why he was one of the national champions, whereas his Haga is like, this is the best player in Japan, and like clearly not, because most of the best players just seem to be not playing in the tournament. But it still says a hell of a lot about, I mean, again, going back to the original Yu-Gi-Oh manga where Kaiba was known as the best gamer in Japan because he played a spell card. That's it. He played a spell card, went into a coma, and still, like, that's considered to be the best gamer in Japan, was the guy who played a spell card.
I mean, in the Haga duel, like, Haga's signature move that everyone pogged over was, I summon basic insect, and then I attached the laser cannon pack to his back, which increases his attack points, and now he's really strong.
Man, how simple times used to be. So crazy how much people would pog over basic ass card gameplay.
Yeah, if you ask me, if Yu-Gi-Oh was ruined once they added spell cards, give me old Yu-Gi-Oh back.
Oh, and you know, I really thought by the time we got to the end of Duelist Kingdom, I would be able to understand how this game is played in real life. But I can concretely say, nope, I still have no idea how the fuck this game would be played in real life. Still have no idea. It's still so completely unclear how many cards you can play during your turn. Like, IRL, is there also the timer? I don't know. But, like, it's because where I am now, it is playable in real life, but I haven't gone and looked over the booster packs yet to see, like, what the rules are and stuff for that yet. But, like, man, the number one thing that I'm curious, like, does the time limit sort of thing transfer over to the anime?
No.
Okay. Because, like, that's a huge thing in the manga of, like, there are turns, but there's also, like, time. Like, to where your turn only lasts a certain amount of time, and if you don't do stuff in that amount of time, then you're fucked. Or, like, if somebody does something and you want to play a trap card, you have to do it fast enough or it won't matter. And, like, that stuff's fascinating.
Yeah, in the real game, there are, like, I'm not going to go too into all of it, but, like, there is a timer, but that's more of just a, like, you can't just sit there and stare at your opponent for, like, minutes.
Okay.
Like, as long as you're doing stuff, your turn isn't over. Like, unless also it's obvious that, like, you've made a loop where you can just kind of do the same thing forever and it's not going to win you the duel, or it's not going to, like, result in anything. You're just doing it to waste time.
Gotcha. Because, I feel like the most clear example of it was, like, towards the end of Duelist Kingdom, where we got one card that was, like, in 3 turns this will happen, and then you see that, like, slowly ticking down, as in, like, your turn is only going to last these few seconds, then it's my turn, which only lasts a few seconds, then it's your turn, which only lasts a few seconds, and, like, you see how time moves on a turn, finally, and it is, like, you have a couple seconds. Shit is so fast in this game.
Yeah, it adds a pressure cooker element that doesn't, I mean, it could work in a real game, but it would have to be a different game. Or, like, I think even at this point in the series, like, it works because the cards are relatively simple, and if you're not, like, just sitting there and monologuing, then you should be fine. You know, like, famously, the case of Pegasus versus Yugi at the very start, where Yugi is staring, and we see the time ticking down, and he's very slowly going, like, what do I do next? Okay, I'll do this. You know, where he loses because he runs out of time.
Yeah, like, that is a huge thing. The whole reason why all Duelist Kingdom happens is because Yugi was too slow. And, like, it was still his turn, but still, he was too slow, and so Pegasus won. But, like, he could have won. We know he had the potential to win, even all the way back there. But he just was too slow to do it. And, like, that's such a fascinating concept. Also, like, I appreciate stuff like having all the characters having different knowledge of what is going on, so all of them have a different idea of what shit does. Like, you know, Kaiba's whole thing for Duelist Kingdom is like making the duel discs so that way he can fight Pegasus at a distance. But Yugi knows that like that works at an infinite distance. It doesn't matter how close you are. And then even in that tournament, that is reestablished by like he can read the people's minds from so far away. Like the dual discs would not have put enough. Like even if it was a distance thing, the dual discs wouldn't have mattered anyway because he was way farther away when he's able to read their minds. When he's way up on like his throne and stuff.
Yeah.
So like I appreciate that sort of thing, like having every one of the characters have different. I also like these characters have different opinions on Kaiba versus like just because of what he's done to them specifically and stuff and. Like, there's a great, not like unreliable narrator, but which also seems like there's an unreliable narrator. But aside from that, like, I appreciate whenever all the characters have differing opinions on stuff and they're not, like, all in agreement over one thing.
Yeah. Like, I'll bring this up now before I forget. When they get to Pegasus's castle, there is an entire, like, filler bit in the anime, like, during the night, where, like, Yugi's friends try to figure out how Pegasus's, like, cheating works. And they go through this whole thing where they're like, oh, if you, look at the area where they're going to duel at night, you can see, like, a shaft of moonlight coming down right where, Pegasus's opponent would be holding his cards, and there's a hole there, and there's a tower that, has a telescope that leads to the hole, and all of that is just the distraction that Pegasus set up. So, if someone who doesn't believe that he's magic, looked at that, they would go, okay, so this is how he's cheating. I'm just going to, make sure, I'm going to cover it up myself, or I'm going to expose him for that, and he's going to have to, stop doing that. And then he's still going to be able to know what's in my hand, which adds this extra layer of like, wait, what? But I know how you're cheating, and it's impossible. It is now scientifically impossible for you to do this, so how are you doing it?
That is really dope. Because, I love how, like, different their opinions are on the mind-reading ability. Like, Jonouchi and Anzu have been next to Yugi with all the supernatural shit for a lot of stuff, so they believe in it, versus Honda has not really. So he doesn't believe in it at all. And, like, Bakura also has a Millennium item, so he knows exactly what it is.
Yeah.
And, like, I just love that distinction there.
Same.
And like, the mystery originally of, like, how is he doing? Like, also the fucking subliminal messages that he puts in originally, like, to trick you into thinking that's what it is that he's doing and everything.
Yeah.
Very, very well done. Still love how fucking silly it is that he just throws in a picture of a skeleton.
Yeah, that's actually not in episode 2 of the anime. So, in a sense, I guess you could say that the whole, like, tower situation is a way of kind of adapting that. Like, it is a similar, like, Pegasus has, is giving you an explanation of how he could do this thing, but that is not actually how he's doing that thing. It is just a misdirect.
Yeah. And I got another, like, bit to talk about there, but I'll wait till we get to the actual final Pegasus battle to talk about more about the mind scan and stuff. But anyway, let's move on to Jonouchi versus the Siren, Mai Kujaku. Her name in the anime, I believe, is Mai Valentine, correct?
Yep.
Okay. Interesting last name. Yeah, like, I guess Valentine because she's a very, like fake flirtatious kind of character. But also, like, just first off, design-wise, it is so clear that, like, in the original Yu-Gi-Oh! In, like, the first 8 chapters, there is, like, a teacher that gets introduced that is basically exactly Mai's design, except a little bit older. And even, like, makes very similar faces and all that. And it was so cool that he, like, loved that design so much that he wanted to, like, reintroduce a character that was that design, but, like, an ally. And, so yeah, that was just fascinating in and of itself, that it's like, okay, we're just going to reuse the design for a new character, essentially. A little bit younger. Still, like, how old is... I assume Mai's in her, like, 20s or something, right?
Yeah, like, early 20s.
Yeah. Versus that teacher, I assume, was in, like, their 30s or something. But either way, it's so similar. That said, I love Mai's design so much. Like, basically, all the designs in Yu-Gi-Oh! Are absolute bangers. I'm glad there's no, like, human design in this where I'm like, they look too ridiculous, like JoJo levels of like, I don't even want to look at you. This is one of the worst designs I've ever seen. Like, we don't really have any of that.
Yeah.
And like, as well, there's like no cards that I've thought were like too badly designed. Like, oh, this looks like shit. There's some that I'm just like, not fully feeling that. But there's none that are just like, oh, that looks like garbage. And I do appreciate that even the ones where I'm like, it doesn't look that good. Like, then I got to the next volume and he was like, by the way, I've been so busy, I haven't had enough time to like really put my all into all the designs, and I want to apologize for that. And I was like, oh, okay. But yeah, so I appreciate that. Like he's owning up to it. He's like, yeah, you know, I've never seen somebody like quite talk about the designs in that way. That's something you don't really ever hear mangaka talk about very much, aside from like straight up character designs. But like where you know, he's like, I know my bread and butter is monster designs, and people are going to be disappointed by these not being up to snuff.
Yeah. And like there's such an interesting weight to these designs in the sense that like he knows at this point, like, they're all going to become actual physical cards. Like, you know, they're going to be, like, you know, more detail will be added. They are going to be redrawn. Sometimes he would, you know, do some of the art. Most of the art is done by, you know, other people, of course, because you can't have this mangaka do all of this art every single time a booster pack comes out.
You're telling me we don't get the quote from Pegasus where he built these cards with his hands, and that doesn't apply to Takahashi as well?
But yeah,
also,
it is also a mix.
Oh my god, hold on. I just fucking realized when they said he made these cards by hand, I was like, what do you mean he made these cards by hand? Like, there's no way he was like on the factory making them by his hand. So that would mean that like he painted all the cards himself, and then I realized, oh wait like just now I realized, yeah, he did. He is a painter. He did draw all these cards himself.
That is canon, yeah. He's not drawing each individual one, but no, he did. Every single card you see was painted by Pegasus.
Damn. I can't believe I didn't catch that till just now. But yeah, wild. Okay, that makes me like Pegasus a lot more, actually.
Yeah.
But continue with what you were saying, if you remember what you were saying.
Oh, just that, you know, sometimes they use the literal, like, Takashi will draw a card, and then, you know, like, with the image on it, and then that's what they just translate directly to the game. But a lot of the time, what they'll do is, they'll take a different pose of, you know, like, the monster attacking, or, like, just the monster, you know, just on the fields, and then they will just, like, redraw that for the real-world card. Or, like, the cards do have variants, so sometimes it will be, like, here's the variant that is the actual card they were using in the show. Or, like, here's, you know, like, the 3 different variants that are all, like, you know, different times the Dark Magician was, you know, doing this or that.
Yeah.
So there is this, like, layer of, like, I know, like, when he sits down and he draws, you know, the manga, he isn't thinking, like, I've already designed the Dark Magician and this is what it looks like. Like, every time he debuts a card, it is, I don't know what this is gonna be. Oh, boy, I'm excited. What is this?
Yeah.
I sure hope this one's gonna be a banger.
I do love that. Also, like, because he can draw the creatures on the table in such dynamic poses and everything like that, the cards themselves are as if their souls are trapped in the cards, which maybe kind of is what's going on, is maybe what was implied there at the end. But, and also something I was guessing for a long time. But either way, so the cards themselves, yeah, it does look like almost like their souls are trapped in there. Like, they might as well just be T-posing. Like, it's so undynamic on the card because he can make it more dynamic on the table.
Yeah.
Compared to, like, Magic the Gathering, even like Pokemon, where it's like a way more like this is a scene happening on the card.
Yeah, I think that is an important distinction. Like, usually when you see the cards in the series, they are, like, yeah, it is more like they are sealed in the card, or this is, you know, like, just an idea of, like, you know, what the spell does, for instance, if it's a spell card. Whereas when it's being used, it's way more like, okay, this is what it does, or this is why this is cool.
Yeah.
Something I also want to mention that is a big difference between the anime and the manga is that, like, in the manga, you have the duel boxes, where you have a big box, you sit in it, and there's a table, and you are sitting across from the person on a table, and, like, you play the cards are right next to that person, they could, like, you know, pick up and look at your card if they wanted to.
Yeah.
In the anime, to, like, make it more dynamic, I suppose, instead we have, like these giant dual I forget what they're called specifically.
Is it the
like
arm
dual
thing?
stations. No, it's not the arm thing.
Okay.
But it is like this giant field where like most of it is like, you know, maybe the size of like, you know, a house, I'd say.
Jesus.
Like a small house. And the two players are standing on one, you know, on either side of it. There's like this big area you have to like walk up.
I think I know
like
what you're
there are
talking about.
stairs.
Yeah, it's like almost like a podium sort of thing, right?
Yeah, it's like two podiums and then a big place in the middle. And you play your cards on your podium, your opponent plays their cards on theirs. You have a screen that like shows you what your opponent's field is. And that also means for like, you know, for stuff where like their field is obscured by shadow or water or whatever, like the screen then like does that. So you can't see what's going on. And then like, and then in between both of you, you have all the monsters. It gives it a very different feeling. Whereas like, you know, in the manga it is more like,
but no.
No, like it is just a different adaptation of what it is in order to like there's no reason why they couldn't have done it. Yeah, there's no reason why they couldn't have done it exactly like that. But it creates this like clear distinction because also like with the way the manga is, like the monsters and the magic and all that is right next to the player at all times. Whereas in the anime, it's easier to like have a shot that is just the monsters, or like everything's in the foreground and like the actual players are like way in the background, or we're just focusing on the players and we don't have to draw the monsters.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, it's so like tight and cramped in the manga that like I mean sometimes it even like the field is so goddamn cramped with shit that it's hard to even see. Like it's not hard to see what's going on. Because man, I've read a lot of other manga that are way harder to see what's going on. This is very clear what's going on, but it gets to that point where sometimes it's like, damn, there's so much on this thing right now.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I can imagine even for an anime, it would be like, we don't want to have to put all this on screen at the same time. And also, I kind of understand like we don't just want them sitting at a table the whole time because that's not very dynamic. Even though it is extremely dynamic in the manga, but it's just like I imagine with an anime, it's harder to make that dynamic.
Yeah, and I think like when we get into the dual discs later on, like that is Takahashi then going like, oh, I like the concept of the characters are standing and, you know, they can be a little more dynamic and we're still like having the monsters in between them.
Yeah.
Like it's a different idea of getting to the same, you know, to the end goal. I think the anime, at that point, the anime probably knew that dual discs were going to happen, and so they were like, what if we maintain this feeling of you have the players, then in between the players you have all the Yu-Gi-Oh! Stuff going on?
Yeah. And man, I really thought the dual discs were going to be the new big thing, but we only used them really twice.
Mm-hmm.
So that was very, very surprising. But yeah, I really thought that like the podium thing was going to be another like, you know, virtual dual box sort of thing. But yeah, very surprising. Like it makes sense, but at the same time, it is so funny to me switching it from like a, you know, something that is very, very feasible in universe to like, why would you build all these? But Pegasus has enough money. He built an entire fucking castle.
Oh, yeah.
But, like, it does make me think of, like, what if Akagi was just, like Akagi versus Mishizu was just both of them, like, 4 people on big-ass podiums with a giant mahjong table in between them. And you, like, put down your tiles and it holograms up on the thing.
The giant holographic tiles.
Like, because you're so used to it, it feels natural, but, like, imagining it with anything else feels... And, like, it does help, though, that Yu-Gi-Oh! Stuff is already very hologram-heavy, so... But, yeah, and, anyway, like, in the dual discs thing, even aside from, like, the standing, the big thing is that they are, like, physical now. Like, they are solid light.
Yeah. Which I do appreciate in the sense that, like, we do get we don't do a big breakdown of this is exactly what, you know, Pegasus brings to the equation. This is exactly what KaibaCorp brings to the equation. But there is a clear difference of, like, this is Industrial Illusions technology versus this is what Kaiba can do.
Yeah. And, like, I do think it heavily implies that, like, yeah, the virtual dual boxes were, like, a primarily Kaiba thing and just, like, sponsored by Pegasus.
Oh, yeah.
Versus, like, originally I was like, oh, okay, I guess they kind of both worked on those together. But, like, no, it does seem like Pegasus just kind of bought out the virtual boxes.
Like, yeah, like Industrial Illusions, despite the name, doesn't really do hologram stuff, as far as we can tell. Like, they basically just make the game.
Yeah. Yeah. So, either way, but still, so for some reason we were talking about Jonouchi versus Mai. I don't think we ever really actually got to that, but...
No, we didn't go ahead, whoops.
I talked a lot about Mai's design, but also her character as well. She is... I mean, I guess, should I get... now that I've finished Duelist Kingdom, let me just say, my
Sure.
top 5 characters of Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, overall, the original manga, and now Duelist Kingdom as well, go like this. I'm going to go from number 1 to number 5, because I think everybody knows my number 1s anyway, so... Or should I go from 5 to 1? It doesn't matter. I'm going from 1 to 5.
It doesn't matter.
Who gives a shit? Number 1 is Kaiba. Absolutely. Kaiba, number 1. Such a good character. Such a good secondary protagonist. Still, even as a villain, when he is occasionally villainous, quote unquote, or at least antagonistic and stuff. Excellently done. The most well-written character in all of Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, that's primarily why he's number 1. Like, just the writing around him is excellently done. Number 2 would be Jonouchi, actually.
Okay. Surprising.
Fucking absolute banger of a character, and that's so surprising because when I was originally reading Yu-Gi-Oh! For like the first couple arcs, or at least like the first 8 chapters maybe or whatever, I constantly said multiple times a chapter, every chapter, get Jonouchi out of the series. Why is he in this manga? He's terrible. He is awful. He is a garbage human being. But once he accepted basically that he's gay, then he like became much, much better. Once he dropped all the like, this is what a man does sort of thing, he became much, much better. And like now he is like, he is the hard soft boy, you know? Like he is so hard, like goes so hard and is so adamant about like, this is what being cool is. Being cool is being yourself. Being cool is being soft. Being cool is crying. Being cool is like helping your friends and all that shit.
Yeah.
So then number 3 would be actually Mai.
Okay.
As well. Excellent character, amazing writing from start to finish. Like I might even put her above Jonouchi, but I couldn't. But and since that like Jonouchi, you know, started off being written terribly and like slowly got better. But Mai from the start, absolute banger of a character. Have no moments at all where I've disliked anything she's done or said or anything like. Perfect. I really love her being the adult in this cast, and not too much of an adult, but like just enough.
Yeah, it's not weird.
Yeah. I mean, even then, like I love like Promised Neverland with its adult characters that are very adult as well, and stuff like that. But yeah, like Mai is just, you know, I really thought she was going to have this huge tragic backstory and stuff that we were going to eventually learn, but like no, she's very, very like. You know, a very normal backstory, like the rest of them have normal backstories, where they do have very sad backstories, some of them, like Jonouchi or, you know, whatever, but, like, it's like a very understated sort of thing. She just, you know, she is a jaded adult, she has worked a job, and especially worked, like, very exploitative jobs and stuff, and, like, it's just come to hate people because of it, and now she is finally seeing people that are not being corrupted by once. And everything like that, and they're putting their friends before their own wants, and yeah, just like her whole character arc journey throughout this Duelist Kingdom was amazingly done. Again, banger design, probably one of the best. Aside from Kaiba, probably the best design of any. No, Yugi has the number 1. Yugi, then Kaiba, then Mai are like the best designs, ranking downwards. And yeah, I'm just like. Every time she keeps surprising me with how insanely well she is being written. Like every time I keep thinking, you know, okay, and this is where she's gonna leave for a while, or this is where she's gonna like we're kind of gonna move on from her, but like she is stuck around as such an amazing character. Now, this might be blasphemy. Because number
boy.
5 is Yugi, but number 4 is Mokuba.
Okay.
Yugi and Dark Yugi as a character, I really like them a lot, but like we are just getting to the point where they are becoming very interesting characters rather than just like the protagonist.
Okay, fair.
And I liked Yugi himself a lot in the original Yu-Gi-Oh manga, but we barely have gotten anything with him in Duelist. So it's like it's hard to rank him because like their characters are changing so much, and we're not like going on like a clear character arc. Like it's not an arc; it's like a kind of roller coaster. Not like from good to bad, but just in terms of like we'll change and then we'll we'll lose that change, then we'll come back and we'll lose that change, and like so he's very interesting, but I don't know if he's like on the level of everybody else. He is a little bit too just protagonist-y energy. And this is coming from somebody who generally always says that my favorite character is the protagonist.
Yeah.
But I do think a lot of what I like about Yugi is just his design, and like a lot of the shit I like about Yugi has to do with everybody else. Like, a lot of the best Yugi scenes are really better Jonouchi scenes, or better Mai scenes, or better Anzu scenes, or better Kaiba scenes. He's a character that is very easy for all the other characters to bounce off of, but by himself, I am not fully, like, invested in him. But he is still in my top 5. You know, I want to give a big shout out to Honda and Anzu and Bakura and Pegasus and all that, and he still ranks above all them. But like he's just not on the level of how insanely well written Kaiba, Jonouchi, Mai, and Mokuba are. Those 4 are like extremely tightly written, so well written. Yugi has a little bit too much protagonist energy, and Dark Yugi is a little bit too like Gary Stewish, but we're getting away from that. Like, we're giving him more characterization now, and I understand fully why, and I wouldn't change anything. Like, again, Yu-Gi-Oh! The original manga, all about Yugi, and Dark Yugi is this like taking the back seat sort of thing, comes out when we need him, but primarily it's all about the original, like, you know, light Yugi, quote unquote, and his relationship with all the characters, him getting a ton of characterization and everything like that. Duelist, Yugi goes in the backseat. It's all about Dark Yugi. That's the primary characterization we get there. And then at the very end, they come together. They're talking now. They're going forward. And I think from this point on, Yugi is going to skyrocket up. He could even become number 1. But it really depends on where we go from here. And even then, I don't know if he's ever going to beat out Kaiba. I don't know if he could possibly beat out Kaiba. But as well, it doesn't feel like that blasphemous to say like Kaiba is my number 1, versus I am also the kind of person who's like, if the main character isn't my favorite character, that's a bad series. But I would still say Kaiba being my number 1 counts as the protagonist being my favorite character, because he is still a protagonist.
No, I fully agree with that.
Yeah. And at the same time, Jonouchi is such a heavy protagonist character too. Not even, like, obviously he's, you know, Kaiba and Jonouchi are not, like, on the same level of a protagonist as Yugi is. But they're damn close.
Yeah. It's a dynamic that I've rarely seen in a lot of other series. In that, yeah, there is the very obvious, Yugi is 100% the protagonist, but both of them have other aspects of being a protagonist, and you can very easily, you know, imagine a whole arc that is just focused on one of them.
Yeah.
Or, like, you know, like, they have duels that are, like, you know, where you are rooting for them, and it's like, holy crap. Like, this isn't just we're moving to a side character and now we're rooting for them. It is like, no, they are genuinely, like, the person pushing their own story along.
Yeah. And, like, yeah, just, again, with Yugi, like, I really feel like a lot of the stuff we get is characters seeing Yugi do stuff, seeing Dark Yugi do stuff, and that inspiring them, rather than, like, you know, Yugi doesn't change that much. And, again, this is coming from someone who, like, Luffy's one of my favorite characters, and it's not like he changes a hell of a lot, and that's exactly his whole thing, too. But, it's a little bit different to me. I'm sure Yugi's going to get higher up, and I think a lot of times before, even during Duelist Kingdom, I ranked Yugi higher. But by the end of it, looking back, I'm like, man, these 4 characters, so insanely well written. Again, Mokuba as well, so well written, such a good character.
Mm-hmm.
When he was first introduced, I was like, okay, here's the arbitrary, I have a brother and he's also evil and whatever. And even during Death Tea, it was like, he didn't get to do a whole lot. He was interesting, but like during Duelist Kingdom, he really, really good character. I feel like Mokuba is going to drop a hell of a lot off this list. But right now, where I am, he's that high up. But I feel like as the series goes on, he's going to quickly go far down. But, he did a lot of dope-ass shit in this. And I'm also very, I will rank characters higher when they have a lot to do with exposition and getting us, big new information that I get to theorize around, because then they're always in my mind when I'm thinking about that stuff.
Yeah.
And again, shout out to Honda. I hope we get to see, more stuff with him and everything like that, but even as he is, I really love his role as being the guy who sneaks around and is the Mr. Prince kind of character, and just really enjoying him be the sneaking behind the scenes strategetic brawler that we have, while Jonouchi is the just he'll punch you in the face if you say something mean, but he's not the I'm gonna go and sneak and do this thing.
Oh yeah.
Anzu as well, used to rank very high as well, but I've dropped her down because she is turning into the Jonouchi early into the series of she used to be so against that whole idea this is what a man is, this is what you gotta do, blah, blah, blah. And now she is fully doing that constantly, and it's just I don't know what changed, but not too into her now. Seriously, after the whole Yugi and her confessing that they liked each other, she's gone so far downhill after that, because I don't know what happened, but after that she has instantly gone to, oh Yugi, you're not a man, I don't like you and you act like this, stop crying you little bitch. Bakura, super excited with where we're going with him, but Monster World, insanely good, loved him, bro, could have been one of my favorite characters after Monster World, excellent. Since all of Duelist Kingdom, didn't do a goddamn thing until the end, and I like him, but and I'm very excited to see where we go. But still, one of the complaints I would definitely have is Bakura should have gotten to say more during Duelist Kingdom. I'm not even saying give him an arc, make him do something. No, just have him say lines.
Yeah, he really is the other guy.
Yeah. Pegasus as well. Very good villain for this arc, but going forward, who knows? I would not rank him in my top 5.
Okay.
He's interesting, but not enough to rank up there. Again, I don't even know how much more he's going. I'm sure he's going to be in it, but not he's not. I really thought he was going to be the new Kaiba, our big, huge 3 characters going forward in the series. We're going to be Yugi, Kaiba, and Pegasus. But now I'm not quite so sure. And I like a lot. I love his dueling style, but him as a character is. I don't know how to put it. He's just he's very mysterious, or he was so mysterious that I don't know. He's good, but not blow me away good. If that makes sense.
Yeah. No, I get that.
Yeah, he's very good as an arc villain, but I'm not sure how I feel about him, considering him a series overall character. But yeah, so those are my top 5 characters. So, just to say about Jonouchi versus Mai, that absolutely love Mai. Such a good character. From her introduction, where she's talking about oh, there's just only kids here. Am I the only adult that's actually dueling here? And that clearly also affected her in a way of embarrassing her a little bit, even though she tried to internalize that. And her whole aroma tactics were very fascinating to see. I love the mystery around that.
Yeah, I remember you stating specifically, did they just introduce a better Pegasus? What's going on?
Yeah. When I thought she was just doing it without a Millennium Eye, I was god damn, she's just, counting cards and, able to, just, man, still, even with the aroma tactics, that's insane. She has to memorize, 60 different scents.
Yeah. And
even if there's multiple cards, it's 30 cents or whatever. That's so many. You got to remember all those, and you got to make it it can't be a super strong sense. And if it was, it would mix with the cards too much. That requires so much fucking work.
Yeah, and like she has to distract from that fact with her, with her persona, by psyching you out, making you go like, okay, so she is just like magic or psychic, and slash I'm super horny for her, and therefore I'm not thinking about it. Like there's so many things she does to make you not even consider the idea that there is a smell at all, and if there is, you would still go like, well, if she's an adult woman, she's probably just wearing perfume. Like, you have to go through so many hurdles just to consider the idea there is a scent there at all.
Yeah, like, so perfectly done. And it's like, it's so much better of a strategy than like half the people in this who are like, like, is she cheating? Yeah. Are other people cheating because they're waiting in a very specific location and wanting you to fight them in that location? That's not quite cheating, but it's also pretty bad as well. Like, I wouldn't say that what Mai is doing was any worse than like what Ryota does. Like where he's like, knowing that people are going to be like starving. So like he makes fish and like waits for you to eat his fish and says like, well, now that you ate my fish, you have to duel me. Like that's entrapment.
But I mean, that's also part of the whole design of Duelist Kingdom. Like that's why it's on an island. It is this like combination of like people are going to stake out the places that they want to fight, and then also like presumably like as the player base dries up, like if you are staking out the desert area, for instance, you're eventually going to have to move to a different area where you're more vulnerable because there's just no one out there.
Yeah, like you're only going to get so many star chips by doing that.
Yeah, or you're on the risk of just a player killer showing up and just beating your ass, unless you're really, really good.
I mean, not like they knew that was going to happen, but...
Yeah.
But yeah, so really love I mean, I'm also just such a sucker for characters that cheat. Like it's always so fascinating to me because there's a hell of a lot of skill that requires you to do that, and it's a fictional series.
Yeah, like you are essentially just playing a second game if you are like cheating in a way where the mangaka is doing it in a good way. Like there are many ways where it's just like, this isn't interesting, this isn't skillful, but like what Mai does is insanely skillful, and it's so fun to read.
Yeah. And, like, in tournaments in real life, if somebody cheats, it's like, oh, you piece of shit. But if there was a tournament in real life where the prize was like $1 million, I would also be like, if they cheat, I don't really care that much. Like, I get why you would, and, like, that's a hell of a lot of money. And that's not even how much money it was during this, but still.
Yeah. I mean, this is both a monetary prize and also a wish.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I forgot about the wish. Yeah, because that never never really came back up because we knew what we were gonna wish for, and like, everybody else never really brought that up at all. But yeah, I mean, I didn't know if it was a wish because he just kind of like made Pegasus promise that. It wasn't like Pegasus was like, "What is your wish?" Like,
I believe. No, I believe he did though. Like, it's just that Pegasus, like said beforehand, like, I assume you want your grandfather's soul back, and then Yugi added on. Was it not?
No, because Yugi had to make him promise that. They were just going to duel otherwise. The only prize was the money. That might have been an anime-only thing.
Perhaps.
Because the other card, if you're thinking the other card being a wish thing, that was just the, like, ability to duel in the championship. Like the one that was blank with a question mark, that was like your soul's going to get trapped in this.
Okay.
And that was like you have to show that card if you're going to duel at all. But yeah, so I don't think there was a wish thing in the manga. I think there originally was when the arc first started or something like that, or like they guessed that it was going to be a wish, but that wasn't true.
That might be correct.
Because also, no other character talks about the wish. I mean, like, even they don't talk about the wish. Like, Jonouchi is not like, here's what I'm going to wish for.
Well, you need to have both cards for that, whereas Jonouchi was dueling just with the honor of the king's right. Like, he was only ever going for the money.
Well, but he hadn't, like, he didn't even have the treasure card.
Yeah, he did. He gave, he was using Yugi's treasure card.
No, Yugi gives him the treasure card after they decide they're not going to duel each other. But he just has the one that allows him to duel in the first place.
Wait, what?
Like, after they... How do I put it? After they decide not to duel, Yugi gives him the prize card as like a, here, you can keep the prize, and then Yugi goes to Pegasus with the one that allows him to actually duel.
But Jonouchi had the prize card beforehand, because that's the one Bandit Keith steals.
Yeah, you're right. I guess it's just any one of the cards that allows you to do that then.
Yeah, like, it is specifically the honor of the King's Rights allows you to like duel, and then if you win the tournament, you get money. The honor of the King's Left allows you to duel Pegasus, and then if you were to beat Pegasus, you would get something else.
I don't think that's true. I don't think that second part's true. But either way, like, I'm not sure where the fuck Yugi got another one of the prize cards from, because he does hand Jonouchi the one that's the prize. But yeah, I'm not sure where the fuck he would have got that from. But anyway, doesn't really matter.
Mm-hmm.
Either way, I mean, I guess we'll talk about, like, my wanting the money to...
Well, actually, no. I will stop you there. Jonouchi hands it to Yugi. I'm looking at the page right now.
Oh, okay.
Jonouchi gives Yugi the card, and then Yugi holds it up to Pegasus.
Okay. I'm just wrong then. Gotcha. But yeah, there's no, like, wish you get from Pegasus or a thing you get from Pegasus afterwards.
No. Like, yeah, at the very first chapter, like, Pegasus is implying that, but that is a clear, like, I know what you're, what this card is for now that I've taken your grandfather's soul and I've put it in the tape. It is a clear, like, for you, I only did this for you, and you are going to win and then, get his soul back.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just either one of the two cards is the right to duel.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Yugi also, like, has to show that when he's, like, he has to show the one that's the blank one when he's facing Mai.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, speaking about Mai wants the money to go on a trip around the world and just have a nice vacation and everything like that. It's a very simple one, but it's also, like, knowing, like, what she's done in her life and everything like that, like, the job she's lived and how that's, like, beat her down and everything like that. It's a very, like... Obviously, it's not like, oh, I hope she gets this as well, or like, and it's not even the kind of thing where it's like, oh, give her a little bit of money so that way she can do that. Like, that's, you need all the money or none of the money to be able to do that.
Yeah, and she's not really losing anything. She's just lost a little bit of time because she did a tournament.
Yeah. And, like, I wonder how much a boat costs in, like, 1999, because, like, did Ryota need 10,000 yen, was it, to, was it 10,000 yen or $10,000?
It was $10,000. 10,000 yen is like $100.
Yeah, that's like nothing. That's why I was like, wait, that can't be true. But yeah. Like, I don't know, like, nowadays, yeah, $10,000 for a boat is probably going to get you a really shitty boat. But I wonder, like, in 1999, how much of a boat you could get for $10,000. Like, that feels like so much. But I do, yeah. Like, I guess moving on from Mai to Yugi versus Duelist of the Sea, Ryota Kajiki. Love that his whole thing is just, I want a new boat. Our boat got fucked up, and I want a new boat. And it's just so simple, and I love it. It's so sweet. I wish we got more stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because after Ryota, we don't get, like, anybody else like that. Like, Mai is already somebody that was introduced at the very beginning of the arc. And then she sticks around as a big major character. But the only character that, like I thought this arc was going to be mostly us facing people like Ryota. But not the case at all. Just him and only him. But yeah, love Ryota's design as well. Cool character, not a whole lot to say about it. He definitely should have won that game. There's no universe in which Yugi should have won that. I have no idea how that worked. Bullshit.
Yeah. Sorry guys on YouTube, we're not going to go over the giant Soldier Stone punching the moon. This is something that's been talked about for decades. Nobody knows how this works.
Okay. But anyway, I don't think it punched the moon, but either way. I'm not even talking about that. I'm just talking about, like, the the number one thing that bothered me the most in Duelist Kingdom was introducing these fields where you can put down your cards on the field, and wherever you put down your card gives it bonuses. But then also, your card can be in the water field. But then if you move your creature, not the card, but like move the hologram of your creature somewhere else, then like that counts, even though the card is still on the water side. Doesn't make any fucking sense. Happens multiple times throughout the whole thing. I mean, the worst example of this is in the fucking Labyrinth. I don't know how the fuck the Labyrinth works at all.
Yeah, the like hologram only stuff is such a like I feel like those are the kinds of things that people remember so fondly / aggressively about Duelist Kingdom, because it is insane. Like in the My chapter, for instance, like just the concept of like Time Wizard moves time forward, and then that doesn't kill the harpies, but it just makes them really old, so they're weaker, and then also ages up the baby dragon to the 1000 dragon. Like you can do that in the game because like they made that like just a separate card that you can summon. Okay. But with the holograms, it is this clear like D&D-esque element of like you can kind of do anything, and there is a logic to it. It's not necessarily the logic you would expect, but there is a logic to how everything works.
Yeah.
Like Time Wizard is not a I destroy these cards or I destroy your cards. It is a like time moves forward, and every single card in the game has to have like like the box is creating a simulation of what would happen to this character in 1,000 years. Like the harpies will live 1,000 years. They will just be really old.
Oh, it's so insane. Like there's just so much shit that I have a problem with like that. There's a lot that I think is like the more Duelist Kingdom goes on, the better and better it gets. And especially once we get into the castle, I mean, even before we get into the castle, once we get to Yugi versus Kaiba, like the whole rematch thing, that's when everything becomes so much better. Honestly, the moment we stopped doing the fucking, like, battlefields being, like, a physical place, like, once they got rid of that shit, everything became much, much better. And that's even including all the stuff where you're just trying to convince somebody that something else exists. I mean, there's a few of them that are still pretty bad. Most notably, Yugi's big, aha, but you didn't realize lesbians don't exist, and that's how I'm gonna win. But, like, aside from shit like that, it's much better.
Oh. Also, just the concept of the field power bonus being, like, a flat 30%, and so there's so many cards in early Yu-Gi-Oh that are like, with this attack power bonus, Silver Fang, it goes to 1560 attack points.
I fucking hate percentages in Yu-Gi-Oh so much. Like, let me just put it this way. I hate the fact that this is such a Japanese card game. Like, the fact that everything is such huge numbers is so hard to keep track of, and it makes everything mean nothing. Like, the most infuriating thing is, like, Blue Eyes is introduced as the most powerful card because it's at 3,000 attack. Meanwhile, nearly every card played in the game is at 2,400 or more. So, just crazy stupid. But either way, it gets much, much better as we go on and everything like that. But God, the beginning of it, so shit. So absolute shit.
Oh, yeah.
And especially the number one thing that's carried over from the beginning, from like the original Yu-Gi-Oh manga into Duelist, and there is like maybe a few times where it's not the case in Duelist, of just Takahashi does not know how to end an arc, or end a duel, I mean. Sorry, not end an arc, but end a duel. He cannot do it. He's never been able to do it. Is incapable of it. Like, because it really seems like he designs all these by, like, doing it off his cuff. Like, he's not like, here's how the whole duel is going to go. He just starts it, and then tries to figure out how it's going to end, and then he can't figure out a good way for it to end, so he comes up with some bullshit reason every single time. And again, there's very, very few times where that isn't the case. Like, especially, thank God the final match with Pegasus wasn't that. Thank God. But yeah, for the most part, absolute garbage endings. Even if I'm, like, enjoying the duel for 90%, the ending just tanks it every time. So, then I guess we can move on to Mokuba coming back, finding out a bunch of exposition here. Like, one, just so excited to see Mokuba come back and everything like that. I mean, I just talked about how much I love him as a character and everything, and him being the one to come to warn Yugi and helping out Kaiba and all this shit going on. I love just the mention of there is one person in all of, like, everybody that Kaiba knows, there's one person that he trusts, and that's, like, their new, like, butler maid girl or whatever. Just, I love that, specifically because their last butler was a serial killer. And I'm not even talking about the other serial killer. They had two serial killers. Like, he was not a serial killer.
Master of torture.
He was a master of torture. I mean, somebody that likes to kill people, I would say, is definitely also a serial killer, but he was not explicitly called a serial killer. But
he has just killed multiple people in series. That doesn't make him a serial killer.
But either way, yeah, big surprise that he doesn't trust anybody in KaibaCorp when they're hiring literal serial killers and torturers and shit like that. Hiring American snipers. Like, yeah, no shit, he doesn't trust anybody, so they had to hire somebody new that he could trust. Just whole cloth, like, just hire somebody else. And even then, did that, like, they said that Kaiba trusted her, so maybe she was working there the whole time. The one decent person working at KaibaCorp, because he couldn't have, like, when would he have had the time? Because he went to a coma right after Death T, so. But yeah, either way, so fucking funny. Also, Mokuba, like, stealing the key and everything like that, and then the most insane shit of Mokuba swallows a key that they need to get into a safe, so they bring Mokuba to Duelist Kingdom to make him poop at Duelist Kingdom. Like, then they're gonna have to go back with the key to Kaiba's mansion. It's like they needed the only toilets in all the world are on fucking Duelist Kingdom. So weird. And then they end up trying to do a 3D scan of his stomach while he's, like, got his soul trapped in a car to get the fucking key out. And
it is truly the most un-Shonen Jump thing for Mokuba to never poop in this entire arc.
Well, no, he has.
Because,
to be fair, they do canonically, he has pooped multiple times, and they keep searching through his poop, but he has pooped out the key.
You're right. Yeah, because, what I was going to say is, like, even with Pegasus, like, removing his soul and then being able to control his body, he still cannot make Mokuba poop out this key.
Yeah.
Like, they end up resorting to the 3D scan because they're like, well, it's not coming out. We just need to make another key.
I love the idea of them doing a fucking, like, what is it, where you would, like, put the gel on his stomach and, like, look at it with, like, an ultrasound. Like, I love them just doing, like, an ultrasound to find this fucking key and make a copy of it.
What is this safe where there's no other way? Like, they can't crack the safe.
Yeah.
Even with all of Pegasus's money and with, technology and, like, bombs or whatever, they need this key.
Yeah. Oh, so fucking funny. The Big Five are already so ridiculous by the fact that this was their plan. We're going to bring Mokuba to Duelist Kingdom to poop.
I mean, they live in a world where they know if they don't have the biggest gamer in the world, then the entire company is nothing.
Yeah, like, that's also so fucking funny. Of, like, the reason why their stock is so good is because Kaiba played a spell card one time. And yeah, like, again, their whole like, at first I was so confused about their whole plan, and it still is wild that, like, their plan is, like, we need Yugi to go up against Pegasus and lose so Pegasus can get control of the company. Or, and it took me a long time to realize this because I thought this was so stupid at first, but I get it now, if Yugi gets beaten by somebody else, like, let's say Yugi gets beaten by, like, the Labyrinth brothers, then Pegasus will duel the Labyrinth brothers and they'll just lose to him, and then Pegasus will get the company. But like it's just such a roundabout way of doing it rather than just asking Yugi, because it's not like a physical sport where it's like we're wearing him down. Like it's like, no, you have something that reads his mind. Why didn't you just invite him to a thing yourself? And like, why stage this whole tournament? Insane. And it's not even like this is being televised or anything. Like, nobody seems to know that this is going on unless they got the tape. And it's like meeting at this pier in secret and stuff. So it's like, what was the point of any of this?
It is so strangely honorable in that, like, they need to have the paper trail, even if they don't film it or anything. They need to know in their hearts, yes, Pegasus is now the best gamer in the world, and now we can tell everyone that, and they will go, okay, so if Industrial Illusions and KaibaCorp merge, it's fine because the biggest gamer in the world is still at the top of this one.
Yeah, and like, still, it's also insane that like, they would go like, by the way, I beat Yugi, or like this guy beat Yugi and then I beat him, so I'm the best gamer. And I imagine a lot of people would go, I don't believe you. Like, why can we not see that? Why was that not televised?
Yeah.
Why was that not a big event? When we saw Yugi beat Kaiba, it was at a huge thing going on. Like, it was at his amusement park, there was a ton of people there, assumingly it was being recorded and everything.
Oh, yeah.
So, just whack. Absolutely crazy.
Yeah, like, it's genuinely so wild that I'll stop skipping after this, but like that we don't even do the classic tournament thing of like all the defeated people get to come to the castle and watch the final fight. It's like there's no communal like this is why the stakes are so big. Like the way Pegasus wanted it, like he didn't even want Yugi's friends to be a part of this situation. So it was just going to be I'm going to beat Yugi and nobody is going to be around except like my bodyguard. No one else will know that this happens. And then the entire world just has to take it on faith that I beat the guy who beat Kaiba once. And now we're good. No, we're not going to do it again.
And even like we have Yugi loses to Kaiba and then Pegasus beats Kaiba. But that doesn't get him the company for some reason.
No, it's still like, well, we need to make sure, like, this guy beat Kaiba, so I can't say that I beat, even though he won it back. Like, it's not a, like, we are trading around the title of King of Games. It is specifically just, I need to make sure I've beaten everyone who could also beat Kaiba, and then I'm the best gamer.
Yeah, but I mean, even then, Yugi was going to be locked out and deported off the island, and Pegasus was never going to get the company. If Mai didn't come along and give him those stars.
Oh, yeah.
Like, what a bad plan. What a terrible Pegasus is the worst businessman ever. I mean, he's also insanely manipulative and a good businessman in the sense that good business people are terrible business people. Or good business people, terrible people. But still, at the same time, also a terrible business person at the same time.
Yeah. Like, most of the island does not, most of the people he has hired to be on the island don't seem to understand what the plan is.
No.
Which is a bad take. Like, he definitely should have added a clause of, like, if Yugi's going to get kicked out, we need to contrive a reason why he's going to come back in.
Yeah. I also, like, speaking of his underdogs, or, like, the people working for him and everything like that, I appreciate how, like, anti-Butler this series is specifically in the sense that like Kaiba's butler is like trying to kill these kids, then a baby shits on him and he dies. And then what was his name? Croquet, I believe, was Pegasus's butler. Like he's acting all high and mighty and snooty to Kaiba, and then next time we see him he's like half hog-tied with his head in a suitcase being crushed and beaten up. And like after that, he tries to be so high and mighty afterwards, and it's like, dude, we've seen you have your head in a case with Kaiba's foot on your head, and your hands tied behind your back. Like, you ain't nothing. Shut the fuck up.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I love how much the fucking butlers just get absolutely shit on.
In the anime, Pegasus also does, like, threaten to lock him in the dungeons again, implying he does this often.
Oh god, I love it. So yeah, the whole like Mokuba coming back, the big five and everything like that, like yeah, just loved everything about that. The like overarching story and exposition we get, and the mystery with the Millennium items and all that shit is my favorite part about all this. Like the duels are great and I love them, but I am here for the overarching story. It's so good versus like plenty of other series. Like I would expect this to be like, oh yeah, the overarching story of Yu-Gi-Oh is not that interesting, but like you're mainly here for the duels. But like no, the overarching story is so good.
Yeah, it is a like such a distinguishing factor of this manga that like it is not designed to sell cards.
Yeah.
And even when the card game becomes enormous and Takahashi becomes extremely like gets lots of money because of that, he still never shifts the series to being like specifically this is to sell the card game or this is to sell this expansion or whatever.
Yeah.
It is firmly rooted in this idea he has of like what the overarching story is going to be, and all the card stuff is him just kind of like doing it off the cuff as a like this is going to be cool, or I think this is a really fun like game idea, or so much of the Duelist Kingdom stuff of just like what if you had them move on a board? Yeah, that's cool.
And I appreciate, the last volume, like, his author comment in the last volume does imply that, like, yeah, we're going to do a lot of other big arcs with Duelist monsters, but that's not going to be all I'm doing anymore. He does imply that we're still going to do some other games from time to time. And so, I'm excited for that as well. Like, he's not like, okay, now it's just exclusively the card game from now on. But, like, I hope that is the case. That seems to be really what he was implying. Because he was kind of implying, like, okay, we're done with dual sponsors for a little bit. We're going to do some other stuff. And then, like, he was also kind of implying, like, next time Yugi and Kaiba duel, is it even going to be dual monsters? Who knows? And it probably almost certainly will. I can't imagine that they're going to do something. Like, that's where this all started. And so, yeah. But still, like... I like that he, even if that is the case, he at that time was thinking that he was going to do a bunch of other stuff too. Like, even after this huge arc and the success of all this, he's still like, but I still want to do other arcs too.
Yeah. And I do also want to state that, like, especially later on, like, there is eventually pressure from Jump to go, like, we do more dueling. They never said specifically, like, you have to sell these toys, or, they're going to do this thing, and now you have to make the series like this. Like, he still had a lot of control, but, there eventually is more pressure on the, like, this is a multi-billion, dollar industry. This is the biggest card game in the world.
Yeah.
You can't just, you can't just have Yugi go kill a guy for no reason, not involving the cards.
And yeah, I wouldn't expect stuff like that, but, like, I hope that we're going to get, like, more, individual games that aren't at all tied to Duelist, but at the same time, I like the dual discs are really cool as well, because that's, like, yeah, we're playing dual monsters, but also it's so, like there is the yo-yo aspect to it as well. Like, especially the first time we see it. It's like, the yo-yo aspect of it is still a big aspect of it.
Yeah, and the rules do shift with that.
Yeah. So anyway, we also have Jonouchi versus Dinosaur Ryuzaki, the slave, the love slave. Not a whole lot to say about that. We got the red eyes from him.
Actually, you skipped over the puppeteer.
Oh yeah, that was during the whole Mokuba thing. Right. Yeah, I forgot the placement of that. But yeah, the puppeteer. Man, that was the most, like, original Yu-Gi-Oh villain.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if that was a player killer or not. I don't know what the player killers were. Because, like, the only player killer that we know of that is a player killer is the player killer of Darkness. Versus, like, was the puppeteer a player killer? Was the Labyrinth Brothers player killers? I don't know.
I would say that they are.
Because they don't go out hunting.
True. They just kind of, like, hide in an area that's already hidden.
Yeah, like, the only way you would have found them is if somebody locked you in the cave.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I don't know if that counts as a player killer.
Yeah. I would say the puppeteer probably is, though, or like in the sense that Saruwatari, the former like bodyguard for Mokuba, does say that the Ventriloquist is the first of the assassins brought to the islands to kill you.
Okay, right, yeah. Okay, so yeah, that's definitely a player killer. But I like the Labyrinth brothers, I guess are, but they're certainly bad ones if they are, because they're just chilling.
It is the most like, why is this a good idea? I've always wanted, like, I don't think that they should actually happen, but I've always loved the idea of just like a sequel or like a mid-series thing where like we just follow a different protagonist and we just follow like some of the other stuff that had to be happening on the islands.
Yeah, like,
because there's there's so many. Like, there's so many big places on the island, and like if the Labyrinth brothers are hiding down there, there's gotta be like other hidden player killers, and it's like, are there people who are just paid to sit around on the island for like 48 hours doing nothing because they're hiding like in the middle of the mountain, and you have to like fall off the mountain and then go into a specific hole, then go down a slide before you meet this guy?
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, I would definitely bet there would be shit like that. Like, yeah, I would love to see that in something. But anyway, yeah, the puppeteer with Kaiba's like facing off against Kaiba's cards and everything like that. It was a very dope, like, hype up to Kaiba. We also, like, at the end of it, the reason why that guy loses is because Kaiba comes back to life, essentially. Like, he comes out of his coma, and like with the whole like heart of the cards thing going on, he can't use the cards anymore because Kaiba's soul is in the cards, not in his body, but then it comes back to his body, and then like also one of the only characters that we do a penalty game on, which was the lamest penalty game ever, just making him think he's a puppet.
Yeah, not that cool.
Yeah. But yeah, wacky dude, not a whole lot to say about the character.
So, the anime and the dub both do very different things with this duel.
Okay.
Like, in the anime, so in the Japanese anime, he is an impersonator who, like, he is this giant, like, clown-looking guy who then, like, puts himself into a Kaiba suit, and so he squeezes himself down, and so when they see Kaiba, it's like, no, that looks literally exactly like Kaiba. That's just Kaiba standing there on a podium.
Yeah, because I do have to say, in the manga, it was so wild that Yugi looks over and goes, "What, Kaiba?" And we see it, and it's a tiny, tiny little puppet. And it's like, why did you think that was Kaiba?
It is the most, like, I'm cheating using the medium thing, in that, like, we get a shot of Kaiba's head, and then we zoom out, and it's like, no, this is a puppet, and there's a whole guy there.
I fully thought, with the way the guy looks, I also thought that he was a puppet himself, and Salvatore was like doing, or not Salvatore, but like, he's like, oh, there's an assassin sent after you, but I thought it was like, somebody was like remotely operating this like puppet that is operating a puppet, and I was like, this is such a hat on a hat, and then I realized like, oh, that's a real person.
Yeah, it's just a guy.
Also, so, I don't know why it bothers me, but he has on like a mask, like a fucking like COVID mask, essentially. I can't remember the actual name of them right now. But then it has like a shush hand on it that is 3D. It's not like a picture of a shush hand. It is 3D, and I don't know why that bothers me so much. Like, if I saw that in real life, it would bother me too. I don't know why. It just feels wrong. But so. He is a clown in a Kaiba suit in the anime?
Yep, he's a clown in a Kaiba suit who is just doing a really good impression of Kaiba. And then in the dub, he is Kaiba's evil, which got blasted out of his body and then re-manifested as an evil clown man.
Oh my god.
And then like Pegasus just, used like the power of the Millennium Eye to track him down and offer him revenge by letting him fight Yugi again.
Oh, fuck me.
It is bonkers. Also, they do take the, like, mysticism element out of the Blue Eyes not attacking Yugi, in the sense that, like, because, again, like, Kaiba's barely in a coma in the anime, So, unrelated to the duel, he wakes up and is like, okay, what's going on? Okay, my company is being taken. Also, Mokuba's nowhere to be found. He must have gone to do something. Okay, I need to go to Duelist Kingdom. So we get this whole Iron Man scene where he, like, gets into a plane and flies off, and he's got his AI, and his AI is telling him, like, okay, you need to hack the mainframe, sir. I can't do it. Can you do it? And he hacks into the mainframe. There's a whole scene where, like, Kaiba's, the Industrial Illusions, like, just black suits, try to kill him, and they pull out guns and shoot him, and he has to, like, jump out of a window and, be presumed dead.
What?
He gets to the island, he hacks into the mainframe, and then he hacks into the duel, and then, like, starts artificially lowering the attack points of the Blue Eyes. Like, in real time. Like, in real time, it is going down, like, point by point by point. And they're all like, what's happening? And that's when when Dark Yugi's like, oh, this must be Kaiba. But it's not a mystical, like, for some reason the monster won't, won't obey. It is a literal, like, Kaiba's hacking the mainframe in order to lower the attack points. And now that they're low enough, I'll attack the Blue Eyes and destroy it.
Now, there is a song in the OST, like even the Japanese OST for Yu-Gi-Oh, just called Kaiba Hacker. That I was always why is it Kaiba Hacker? Is he a hacker? What do you mean? Now I understand. Now I get it.
It is wild.
God, that sounds insane. Also, just so not the Kaiba that that was a loud noise. Not the Kaiba that I know and love. Like, if you pull a gun on Kaiba, you have forfeited your life. Not, I gotta jump out a window and make him think I died. Kaiba will throw you out the window and make you think you died. I mean, does Kaiba kill the guys in the hell? I mean, like, assumingly killed the guys in the helicopter in the anime. Or was there no people in the helicopter?
I don't. I want to say that, like, in the dub he knocks them out, but I think in the anime he might have just killed them. In the sub.
He like throws them out of the helicopter, and they are in the middle of the ocean, and it's like, those guys are dead. What are they gonna do? They're dead. You can't just survive in the middle of the ocean. Like, what are they gonna do?
Aw, yeah.
Swim all the way back to Japan? The only thing I can think is that maybe in the middle of the fucking night, there's still more kids, by their word, being deported off the island.
I mean, it's basically its own nation.
I guess so. But yeah, either way. I love the whole, like, with Mokuba, like, stealing star chips and all that. And there's one kid that we're like, no, we're going to get his star chips back, and then you're not allowed to deport him. And they're like, okay, fine, go ahead. And then the moment Yugi and them leave, they're like, okay, kid, you're getting deported. And then Yugi doesn't go back to get that kid the star chips. Like, even if they were like, okay, wait here, and then when Yugi wins, he'll give you the star chips. Nope. No, Yugi just takes them for himself. Well, I guess he doesn't take them for himself, like, they don't allow it and all that shit. But it's still like, he was not planning on giving those star chips back. Even though the idea was, like, we're going to give you half back, and then we're taking half because we're doing this. But still, absolutely love that. We also got, it was Sawatori, is that the guy?
Yeah.
But yeah, like, him being, like, a spy from Death Tea and everything like that, which, man, that probably had no payoff or interest in the anime, but, like, where, he was, like, the like, most unique looking one in Death Tea, and he was also the one who was, like, putting a gun up to Jonouchi's head and Honda's head.
Oh, yeah.
No, it wasn't Honda's head, because Honda's the one that saves him and everything, with Mokuba. But yeah, like, and then get in the twist of, oh, he was a spy the whole time, probably means nothing in the anime.
Yeah, it's just sort of, well, I guess he was a spy.
Yeah.
Like, most people would not remember that at all. It is just, he is the black suit that everyone remembers because he's got the insane hair.
Yeah. So, now I think we can move on to Jonouchi versus Dinosaur Ryuzaki, which
Ah, yes.
nothing really to say about it. It was Mai using him to get to Jonouchi, and then, Jonouchi won it.
Mm-hmm.
He got red eyes. Not a whole lot to say there. It was a very, whatever. We got to see the Time Wizard again, I think, and yeah. Anything particular you wanted to say about that one?
Not much, really. I like the dynamic that Mai has in that, early on, she tries to figure out, is there anything more to Ryuzaki? She's more retrospective now, thinking about what Jonouchi said and, thinking about the riddle and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like her in this, but Ryuzaki is just kind of... Yeah, he's just a guy. He's just there to try and, do a big win, and then he loses his best card.
Yeah, and I mean, that is the whole point. He lost to Haga, and Haga was the first person we went up against, and it was easy. Mm-hmm. And so, he's not supposed to be a threat. It's a fully, arc just to get into Mai's mindset, and also to see Jonouchi duel some more against a very easy opponent, but also someone who did go up against a national champion nonetheless, so...
Yeah.
But yeah, and they're both very similar of having, just powerful monster creatures.
Mm-hmm. I do find the Red Eyes interesting in the sense that so the Red Eyes was created for the Yu-Gi-Oh movie, the one for the first anime.
Okay.
And it was meant to be this the Blue Eyes is the best card in the game, but the Red Eyes is for someone who is scrappy, someone who has hearts and is willing to someone who has potential essentially.
Yeah.
And so it's one of the few things that is not originally from the manga that then is entered into the manga.
Mm-hmm.
As a this is now Jonouchi's card, and he got it from Ryuzaki, who's a dinosaur guy, so it kind of makes sense. He also uses some dragons. There's one or two in his deck.
What are dragons if not dinosaurs?
Basically the same thing.
So that was a movie for season 0?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Didn't know that. By the way, when should I watch Pyramid of Light?
Pyramid of Light should be... I'll double check, but I'm pretty sure it's after the Battle City arc.
Okay, so I thought it was going to be after Duelist Kingdom, but nope. Okay, so still got a ways to wait till that.
Yeah, I'll double check just to be sure.
Yeah, because even if it chronologically takes place at a certain point, I would want to know, when it was released in Japan, because then I'm not going to get spoiled on something that might, reference something, even, just cards that I haven't seen yet or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, I might watch the Season 0 movie. I didn't even know there was one.
Mm-hmm. Pyramid of Light came out in 2004 in America and 2005 in Japan.
Oh, wait, what? What?
Yeah.
What?
Remember, Pyramid of Light was created, by 4Kids for the American audience.
Did they pay the Japanese studio to do it?
Yeah.
Okay. Wild. Man. Crazy. Okay, that also means that's a long ways off. I got a long time to wait for that one.
Mm-hmm.
God damn. I really thought I was going to get to that one soon, but nope. But it does take place, after Duelist Kingdom, right?
It does take place after Battle City, specifically.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. And yeah, I know about the name Battle City already, so it's not like a spoiler or anything like that. Mm-hmm. Just for people curious. I think the only other arc I know of is Battle City. I think that's it. Mm-hmm. But anyway, next we have Yugi versus the Player Killer of Darkness. I like this one a lot more than the Duelist of the Sea, Ryota Kajiki, that whole thing. Simply just because the darkness obscuring the cards made the way more sense, and I liked it way more. It still, as always, had a shitty end, but I really liked that one, and I like the Player Killer of Darkness as a character, being this again, very very early Yu-Gi-Oh-esque kind of character. Really, all the assassins were like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love his, just the fact that we're once again fighting just a big guy and a bully.
Yeah. And just really cool, whenever Takahashi gets to design giant fucking, people, I love it.
Mm-hmm.
When he gets to, I wouldn't even say, JoJo-esque characters, more like Kongo Bancho-esque fucking characters.
Mm-hmm. I mean, how can you not remember, the scene where he rips open Mai's tent and goes, "It's duel time!" Absolutely terrifying.
Yeah, fucking creep as hell. I mean, he's also got, like, a clown makeup on as well.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, not a whole lot to say about a lot of these duels unless you have, like, specific stuff you want to bring up. I'm just kind of mentioning, like, general thoughts on each duel. And again, if you want to get my big thoughts on all of them, get the fucking reactions.
Oh, yeah, of course. In the dub, his name is PaniK, capital P, capital K.
Okay, for the PK.
Yeah, they needed a way to explain that.
Yeah, I mean, they don't explain it in the manga at all. I mean, well, sorry, they don't explain it in the English translation at all. Doesn't PK have something to do with darkness or whatever?
It is also short for player killer.
Oh my god, I'm a fucking idiot.
Like in MMOs and stuff, it's, even in Japan, it's called PKing.
Okay, gotcha. So why didn't the anime just say player killer?
I don't know. I mean, my personal belief is that they already had it in their hearts to do the song Panic Attack. And they were like, well, we can't fit in player killer into these lyrics.
Oh my god.
Or we can't come up with lyrics for this, so...
Okay, there's a song called Panic Attack with them. I've listened to a lot of the, like, Music to Duel by or Pyramid of Light OST. I don't know if the lyric songs from Pyramid of Light are going to be in the movie or not, but if they are, I'm definitely going to have heard all of them already, but but still, I don't really care. Anyway, so yeah, it's interesting that he had his own song.
Yeah, like, they don't do that for a lot of other characters. So it does stand out to me. It's like, why him?
Yeah. I don't know. And it wasn't like that was a particularly long duel.
No, not at all. Not even in the anime.
Yeah. But, yeah, okay, whatever. Again, I do love his design, though. So wacky.
Yeah.
Then, actually, going back a second, what was Ryota Kajiki's name?
Mako Tsunami.
Mako?
Yeah.
What the fuck is Mako?
Is
that a Japanese name?
I believe it is.
Why?
I don't know what a Mako is.
So they changed his Japanese name to another Japanese name.
Okay, so it refers to the Mako shark.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, and Mako is Maori.
Gotcha. Oh my god.
Yeah, I can see the logic, but a lot of these changes are, we really want to make a change.
Yeah. I guess, is it Mokuba in the dub as well? I assume so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like they pronounce it Mokuba.
Mokuba? Okay. It's going to be hard for me to not say Mokuba, but...
Yeah.
Also, I like the way Mokuba Kaiba sounds.
It's a good sound.
Yeah.
But yeah, it does stand out to me that, like, the dub changes so many names, and a lot of them are not under the pretense of, like, oh, we don't want these kids to know, like, a Japanese name, or they can't relate to, this Japanese word.
Yeah.
There's so many Japanese words in the dub, many of which are not in the Japanese version.
What was the fucking, the puppet guy's name? I don't even know what his name was in the goddamn Japanese. He was Ventriloquist of the Dead.
Yeah.
Why Ventriloquist of the Dead? Kaiba's not dead. But do you know what his dub name was?
In the dub, he was... let me check real quick.
He
was the Impersonator of Death.
Okay. Oh, yeah, because it wouldn't have been Ventriloquist.
Yeah. But it's the same idea of, like... In the Japanese version, I'm the ghost of Seto who is dead.
Yeah.
Like, they did specifically say, like, yeah, Kaiba's dead. Except for, of course, in the dub, where instead it was, I am Kaiba.
Yeah. Okay. So, and then Dinosaur Ryuzaki, what was he?
He was Rex Raptor.
Rex Raptor. Who, like, this is such a, like, My Hero Academia, like, why did this parent name their child that?
It's a real, like, he cannot shift to a different deck, even if he wanted to.
No, it is in your name. Also, like, their family's last name was Raptor.
Oh yeah.
So then we have Senju Kaiba returning, coming in on the helicopter, doing the whole, like, someone points a gun at him, he throws the card in so the gun can't go off, kicks their asses out of the helicopter, makes his way back to the island. Somehow, the fucking helicopter comes to the island, lands in the middle of the forest, and Pegasus' goons are like, huh, it almost sounded like a helicopter. Like, how did you not see the helicopter? Just more incompetence from fucking Pegasus' goons.
And we'll talk about it, near the end, but I love that this helicopter is important.
Yeah.
Like, just the concept of having a helicopter on an island is a big deal.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, we had the duel between Kaiba and Jonouchi. Of course, Jonouchi gets absolutely stomped. Like, yeah, no shit. But very cool to see. Again, very cool that, like, Jonouchi is, like, super good at the fucking dual discs because of yo-yoing. But we've talked about the dual discs and yo-yoing a lot already. So I feel like we don't have to spend much time on this. But I do want to say, like, man, in the original Yu-Gi-Oh!, Kaiba dresses like a fucking middle schooler. Even when he's in his super fancy clothes, they just look like straight up pajamas. It's the, like, stupidest thing ever. And then he comes back in Duelist looking like he's aged like 3 years and just comes back in fucking some dope ass drip. Still wish it was red and black and not blue and black, especially because those are Yugi's colors, but still, I love it. In my head, it's always going to be a red coat, though.
Fair enough.
But yeah, him with the fucking, like, duster length coat, so fucking dope. Got that drip like crazy. Love him so much. Then we have Jonouchi versus Ghost, the ghost of the graveyard, as I called him in my video. That was the Bandit Keith was working with, like, 3 other kids, and, like, he made him face off against the one named Ghost, and then there was 2 other ones that just didn't fucking matter at all.
Yeah. In the dub, Ghost is named Bonz with a Z, B-O-N-Z, and then the others are Sid and Zyger. Okay. They're not important. Even in the anime, they don't give him much more to do.
Yeah, okay. It was a fun arc because Jonouchi is so, like, superstitious and everything like that. And he kept passing out over and over again. It was cool to set up Bandit Keith and, like, see what kind of character he was. The fact that he gave Ghost the deck to fight with. I
really love that. Just how Bandit Keith is set up here. Like, the fact that he sneaks onto the island, so he's not even supposed to be here. Like, just being an intruder and having all these cards where, like, we learn that you're not supposed to have excess cards. Like, once the tournament starts, you're not supposed to have any excess cards. You can't, like, side deck in other stuff. And he's got, like, a bulletproof vest filled with cards. Yeah. Like, so, yeah, like, the fact that, he's, was it a bulletproof vest? I don't know, maybe... It's not a bulletproof vest. It's just, like, a custom vest that contains, like, entire decks.
I believe in the manga he has it like a drug dealer where he, like, opens up his coat and it's on each sides of the coat, like, the insides of the coat. Like, you would have, like, like, he has, like, straps of all the decks there. But, yeah, it's like he's a fucking drug dealer going, like, which deck do you want? What you buying, stranger?
Yeah, because what he does with Ghost isn't even like, take this entire deck. It is like, your deck is good, but here I'm gonna just give you some cards that I I know these are gonna synergize with your deck and make you way stronger.
Okay, I don't really remember it too clearly, so I'll take your word on that.
Yeah. Like, I appreciate that, and then the fact that, like, when he's going into the tournament later, or, like, when the finals later, like, it is not, and now I'm going to use my real deck. It is him going, like, okay, and I'm going to use this deck. Like, it implies that he is a really, he is a duelist who has, like, many, many decks. He knows how they all work, and he knows how the game works. Yeah. Which is something I can't say for any other duelist.
Yeah, certainly not. Like, you can understand why when he was in the, like, he goes after these tournaments, he is the prize hunter, he's just going after prizes, and, like, you know, whatever opponent he's going up against, he's got a deck to deal with that. And also, he can, winning the prize money, he can put some of that towards stuff he wants, and also put some of that towards just buying more and more decks. And so, like, it's just, you know, he can keep getting more and more. I guess we should also talk about that, you know, the whole tournament that was going on with Bandit Keith, and then also Pegasus was there and everything. We learned that a little bit back, you know, during, like, not even Kaiba's return, but, like, when Mokuba, you know, showed himself and all that shit. But yeah, so, like, the fact that Pegasus had, like, a whole tournament he sponsored that he used solely to, you know, use his mystical, magical powers to make it look like, oh, anybody can win at Duel Monsters. You could go up against the champion and still win. And, like, humiliated Keith in doing that, and also use it as a whole tournament for the thing to sell his cards and everything. And, like, also having Kaiba go there so then they could, like, have the working together thing going on. Like, yeah, just such a piece of shit move.
Yeah, like, I love it. It's one of my favorite backstories in this whole situation. Like, Bandit Keith is not a sympathetic character, but it's so, like, just seeing him be crushed like that immediately makes me go, like, yeah, I get why he is now this, you know, this absolute giant jerk, even bigger than he was before, who is going to crash his tournaments. He's going to try and kill Pegasus.
Yeah. And, like, he is the prize hunter. He has gone to so many tournaments and won and got multiple prizes for them and all this shit, even before Duel Monsters, just, I assume, like, other tournaments and stuff, and is, like, constantly winning prizes. Then he loses this one, because he is humiliated by a kid on TV, but then he immediately turns to doing hardcore drugs and becoming an alcoholic and playing Russian roulette, and it talks he has maybe killed people. Like, it doesn't seem like he actually has, but he's thought of it or something like that. And man, what a wild fucking trip to go from, I can't believe this kid beat me on TV, time to start doing heroin and drinking and playing Russian roulette.
Now that is a classic Yu-Gi-Oh! Character reaction. That is the, like, I'm going to take this in the most insane, most extreme way I possibly can.
Oh, absolutely love it. What a wild fucking character Bandit Keith is. Something I bring up a lot in my reactions as well is, like, when the characters cuss in Yu-Gi-Oh, it's like, you know, all, like, the symbols and everything like that is, like, being censored, but it's always very easy to tell what curse they're saying, whether it's shit or fuck or bitch or whatever. Like, it always matches up with the number of letters in that cuss, except for Bandit Keith. He is the only one that is consistently, like, the symbol, like, the number of symbols don't match up with what you would think grammatically is the cuss that he is using, to where it's always, like, it sounds very American, because he'll be like, I don't have an example because it's insane. Okay. But, you know, it's an equivalent. It's not quite like this, but it'd be the equivalent of somebody saying, like, oh, you fuck stick, or shut up, bitch nose. Like, you know, just a weird, like, nonsense sort of, like, cuss where, like, like, he'll just say, like, oh, bitch, instead of, like, oh, shit, or oh, fuck. And it's like, what is wrong with you? But it is consistently only him. It cannot be a mistake.
No, I fully buy that.
And it does feel extremely American that he just, like, he also definitely says, like, the F slur at one point. Like, for sure. Which does make sense, because he's an extremely homophobic character.
Oh, yeah.
And it was like, yeah, this can't be any other cuss. He's just calling him the F slur. Jesus Christ. What a piece of shit.
He truly is, like, the anti-Mai, in the sense that, you know, Mai is a young adult who's joined this tournament, and it doesn't feel weird that she's among all these kids, because, you know, she's not going to do anything weird, and she is, like, growing and changing as a person because of how innocent, you know, and how, like, good these, you know, the kids she came across are.
Yeah.
Whereas Bandit Keith is the most, like, drug-addicted, evil little uncle who's like, I got all the best cards, give me another beer. When I beat someone, they never play any game ever again because I beat them so bad. The mere sight of a card brings back flashbacks that cripple their whole body. That's a line he really says. I'm just reading that. Dear God.
God, he's so good. He reminds me so much of the guy that had the TV, like the TV producer guy who, my favorite line in all of Yu-Gi-Oh! Of, maybe next time I'll kill someone in front of the cameras. The most bold-faced shit to ever say. And Bandit Keith really feels like the spiritual successor to that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, such a good character. Like, I wasn't really sold on him, but like once we got him in the final like championship rounds and everything like that, that was like, God, so good. Such an absolute dickhead. So yeah, not much to say about Ghost or that whole thing, but it was very fun to get the little bits we were getting of Bandit Keith leading up to him. I mean, also him just locking a bunch of kids in a cave to die.
Yeah.
Oh God. And we'll get to it when we get to Jonouchi versus Bandit Keith, I guess. Let's just finish up our last thing, which is just Yugi and Jonouchi together versus the Labyrinth brothers. That was fucking cool as shit. Seeing like Yugi and Jonouchi playing together and playing against two other people and just having like a 2-on-2 match. Really cool idea. The Labyrinth idea, fucking stupid as hell, but it was cool to see a new thing as well. Like I appreciate it, or I appreciate it and I hate it. It was terrible in practice, but it's cool in theory and I like it in retrospect. As well as like the Labyrinth brothers themselves were very fun villains, and like the mystery around it was fun. I like that I was able to like solve the mystery. It like had foreshadowing and stuff like that, and like that feels so unlike Yu-Gi-Oh! Being able to solve something because you were actually given the information up front. Holy shit. Probably the only time. But yeah, what were their names in the English? Like I called them the Labyrinth brothers, but it was like Make You the Elder and Make You the Younger.
I believe, let me just double check real quick. I believe that in the Japanese they were Mei and Hugh. Okay. Like you combine their names and then they are the Make You brothers. And then in English they are Para and Dox, the Paradox brothers. Okay.
Also, I believe they were the Make You brothers, but in the sense of like it was Mei Make You and Q Make You.
Okay.
So yeah, I think that's what it was. I could be wrong, but either way. So wait, sorry. You said they were what in the dub? I wasn't even listening.
Para and Dox.
Why?
Because Amaze is like a paradox.
No, it's not. No, it is not. The riddle they gave was, I guess, a paradox. I guess. I mean, no, it wasn't, because it was solvable. I was trying to remember what it was, but
technically it's not. Like, it wasn't solvable in the sense that they had the button that would just change the answer.
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
Like, I will say that, yeah, like, in that sense, it is a paradox, but also, they really shouldn't be telling people that.
Yeah. Oh, but either way, whatever. Don't care about it. But yeah, it was...
I do appreciate...
keep going.
Just that I appreciate that it was a situation where, like, even Jonouchi was like, oh, I've heard this riddle before. I kind of know how this works. And then the true answer is, no, we're just cheating.
Yeah.
We are absolutely just cheating.
I mean, even, like, it didn't even fucking matter at all because both doors led to the same place. It was entirely fucking pointless.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, again, like it in retrospect, at the time, not good. But it did introduce a lot of concepts that then we use going forward, like the magical hats and stuff like that. So, it was good for that, I guess, even though I hate the magical hats.
Magical hats is still one of the weirdest cards, even in the real game.
Yeah, I imagine.
Just for the concept of, we're going to use these cards and then shuffle them around.
Especially because even in this version, you are choosing which hat it goes under. It's not random.
Yeah. Also, I don't know what the brothers' plan was. Were they to, were the main characters to lose? Because if you recall, like, the choosing the door thing is not the literal door they go through. It is which door has the key behind it.
Okay.
And so, like, it was like, if you don't, if you choose wrong, if you choose right, we give you the key, and then you can use the key to open the door. If you choose wrong, then we don't give you the key, and then you are forbidden to leave.
Yeah,
like,
what was the plan there?
You're just gonna die here, and maybe we're gonna die here too?
Yeah.
Because if we leave, then you can also just run by us.
Yeah, there are a bunch of kids. They'll just go right to your legs. And also, what, you think you're gonna, like, hold them off? You think you can hold back Jonouchi and Honda? Good fucking luck.
Oh, yeah. They're just gonna beat him to death.
Yeah.
But yeah, not a great duel. It was kind of fun. Also, I appreciate that, we get a bit more of Bakura, talking to the spirits, to Dark Bakura, and, being convinced, like, hey, you know how I really fucked you guys last time? And in the anime, you know how I fucked you guys a few hours ago when we were in the forest? Don't worry, this time, not only can you trust me, but you need to trust me, or you're all gonna die here.
Yeah, that was cool. I'm glad he finally got to do something there as well, like... Yeah, very, very cool. Not very, very cool. Just glad that he got to do something.
Yeah, it's something.
I have purpleized way too much. But next up, we got the sweetest fucking shit. We got Yugi versus Kaiba, the rematch. Probably the best duel we've gotten in the series thus far.
Oh, yeah.
I was fully into it. So good. Loved everything about it. I love that I was even able to predict a little bit, like, what Kuribo was going to be used for, in a way. Not quite that it was going to be a bunch of bombs, but it was cool that I was able to, like, kind of predict, like, okay, I think there's got to be something where there's a card that's like, oh, you can only do this with weak level monsters, but it like, makes a bunch of them or something. And so, yeah, that was dope. I always appreciate it when I'm able to get something, because I have, like... Yeah. It's not just complete fucking bullshit pulled out of nowhere. As well as just, like... It was so fucking hype seeing, like, Yugi and Kaiba, like, getting ready to duel again. Like, Kaiba standing at the stairs, the last hurdle they needed to get past. Like, we got so many pages of just them staring down each other, and just, like, big splash pages and 2-page spreads, and, it was gorgeous. It was well, like, built up after all this time, and, like, so incredible. And it was so, like, Kaiba is so bullheaded. He's not gonna say why he's doing this. He's not gonna say Mokuba's life's on the line or anything like that. And the mystery throughout a lot of it was like, why is Kaiba so much better now? What is making him so much stronger? And it is, the exact same thing Yugi had, that he has somebody on the line now. It was just so fucking cool. Kaiba's not going to say anything, so it's this big, like, Yugi has to get past him and is treating him like such a villain because he feels like a villain not letting him past for no real reason.
Yeah, like, I think the build-up, too, like, Pegasus talking to Kaiba, and the fact that the star chips that Kaiba has that he's going to wager are the ones that Mokuba stole. Like, I love that as a concept.
Yeah.
It really sets him up as, like, he is the protagonist, and now I don't want Yugi to beat him, but also I know, like, I don't want Yugi to lose either.
Oh, yeah, it's tough, yeah. And, like, like, the whole, like, oh, I'm just gonna kill myself now, and then it's like, that is such a, like, old Kaiba move. Like,
yeah.
But at the same time, it's doing anything for the person that means the most to you. Like, he knows that Yugi's going to throw the match if he does that, and if that gets him to be able to save Mokuba, so be it. And, yeah, I mean, and then we have the whole, like, that is when we finally get into, like, Yugi. You can't just let Dark Yugi do whatever the fuck he wants to do. Yugi realizes Dark Yugi is pretty fucking evil at times. Like, not always, but he's not evil, he's just very brutal. very. And at times, definitely kind of evil.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's an evil intelligence in there.
Yeah. I don't know what intelligence means, but... yeah, and, like, talking about, like, that, like, what, you know, this whole series from the start till now, not even Duelist Kingdom, the whole series is about the gamer pride. And, like, it's... I don't know how I feel about the fact that we have gone away from using the word gamer to duelists. Like, it's your duelist pride forever. Because, man, early Yu-Gi-Oh! So fucking funny how seriously they take the word gamer. And I miss it immensely. And, like, I still say it from time to time and forget how ridiculous it sounds until I say, like, Kaiba is the proudest gamer. But yeah, like, the fact that, like, we talk about the, like, you know, be, like, upholding, like, the whole series is about the pride of a gamer, the pride of a duelist, and, like, all that shit being so important, and, like, so many monologues about what it means to be a gamer, what it means to be a duelist. And then we finally come to the conclusion that, like, that all means shit if you are not staying true to your real self and staying true to, like, your own morals and everything like that.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Like, I think, you know, just because of memes and whatnot, a lot of people denigrate Kaiba for the, like, I'm going to kill myself if I can't win this fight. But I love that ending for being, like, you know, it is the absolute truth of all three of the, you know, people dueling there. It is Kaiba's truth of, if I can't save Mokuba, I would rather die here, and I'm betting that this is going to, you know, win me the match. It is Dark Yugi, you know, having that, like, cold, you know, that cold justice in his heart that is a, like, I will kill you, I will win the game, I'm a guy who wins games.
Then die.
And then, yeah, I've done it before. And then right there in the center, Yugi finally waking up inside and saying, no, I will not let Kaiba die just to, you know, win this game, even if it means I'm risking my grandfather's life.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, just... Yeah, everything comes together. That is the arc, the duel where everything starts to change. Dark Yugi and Yugi are now having honest conversations with themselves. Like, before, they were talking a little bit, but it was talking in a sense like, hey, can I come out? Sure, okay, I'll go away. And, like, that's, you know, not quite the same as, like, let's have an honest fucking conversation about what's going on right now. And even then, Yugi doesn't really want to have that conversation, and it's not until the final match where he goes, like, no, listen to me, and let's have a fucking actual heart-to-heart conversation about this instead of just ignoring each other. And yeah, just I'm glad that Kaiba is the person that spurred that all on. And, like, afterwards, like, you know, Anzu talks him fucking down and is like, what is wrong with you? What, you're fucking proud that you did this? Like, fuck off. You think Mokuba would be happy that you killed yourself to try and, like, oh, if Mokuba, you know, if I can't save Mokuba here, then I'll kill myself. It's like, no. If you lost this duel, walk in there, beat the shit out of Pegasus with your own two hands, and get Mokuba back a different way. Like, just giving up because, oh, now the way to do it's going to be harder. Go fuck yourself. Like, if you're doing that, then you truly didn't care in the first place. And, like, after that is when you can see that he truly starts to care more and more. Like, it was, hey, I'm doing this for Mokuba, but also at the same time, you're still thinking mainly about yourself and your pride before your brother. And, like, after Anzu fucking talks him down, that's when he actually starts to put Mokuba first.
Yeah. Oh, I love it.
And even then, it's like, you know, you were doing all this to save Mokuba, and then Pegasus still didn't give him to you. Still said, oh, actually, one more thing. And it's like, yeah, like, you are too trusting in other people being honest gamers, because you're an honest gamer. And, like, that's not the case, you know? You gotta hold true to what you believe is right, instead of just like, well, they're gonna uphold their you know, promise. So
good.
Yeah. Oh, so fucking good. I love the, like, virus card. The whole thing going on with Kuribo was so fucking cool. Everything about Kaiba is so cool. The dual discs making it like, you know, we're actually doing, like, stand battle type shit now.
Yeah.
So dope.
Kaiba seeing the vision of, like the Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon rotting, and then within the rot, he sees Mokuba screaming and reaching out to him.
Yeah. So good. So good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And just like the fact like Kaiba grew so much while he was in that coma. Like him and Yugi used to be like roughly around the same height. Like he was a little bit taller than Yugi, like a head taller. Versus now like Yugi goes up to like his like hip. And like his hair still goes up way farther than that, but like his head is like at hip level now. And it's so like adorable seeing the two of them like talking to each other. Yugi is so tiny.
Yeah. It's so good. The dub barely changes any of this. Like, even the suicide thing, the only thing they shift is, instead of, Kaiba just saying, I'm going to step backwards and die, it is instead, like, because these are solid vision holograms, and when you destroy the Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon, like, the force of, the blast is going to knock me over. But it is still him, like, essentially saying, I'm putting myself in this position. You are going to kill me with this attack.
Yeah.
But it is also him, like, committing suicide. And they treat it exactly like that. They just can't say the word.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that is dope. And, like, I didn't even talk about the fact that, like, I love the supernatural shit in Yu-Gi-Oh! That doesn't have like there's the Millennium items, which are like here's how this is working. They're all magical items sort of stuff. But then we also have shit like the Heart of Cards and stuff. But like maybe the cards have something going on with them. But then like the shit like when Yugi and Kaiba meet and the wind of the world starts to swirl around them, and like as they're fighting, the wind is just like, it's not like the wind is kicking up or being strong. It is like the wind is like this almost visual looking thing that's like swirling around them and swirling around their cards as they bring them out, and like it's just so epic. And it's not like a like they even say like, it looks like they almost have like auras around them and stuff, but it's like that is just the wind being so strong, and like this is so good.
Yeah, it is so unabashedly cool.
Yeah. Love it. So then we go to Kaiba versus Pegasus.
One thing I do want to state in between, that is, again, just a filler, anime thing, is in the manga, of course, Mai shows up and says, hey, I'm paying you back for the starships you gave me, take these starships, and we have the whole talk with, Jonouchi, like, convincing you, like, no, listen, you can't put your pride ahead of yourself, you gotta take these, or, say, do what your heart tells you to do. I'm not even going to make you do this, you have to, think about this seriously.
Yeah.
Which I love in its own way.
Yeah, as we just had that talk of like, being a gamer is not the most important thing. Being a good person who is looking out for the people that mean the most to them is what truly matters.
Yeah, like, Jonouchi is like, yeah, I've got pride, I would throw it away in order to save my sister, which I'm doing here. And Mai's like, yeah, I collected all these extra chips specifically for, because that is me as a gamer. This is the Mai that I want to be now. And so I have to give this to you, even if we don't fight later. I just want to see you guys. And I just want to pay you back.
Yeah. And, like, it would be insanely disrespectful not to take them.
In the anime, like, because Yugi's still processing the whole, like, Dark Yugi / me, like, he still has that mix of, I don't know what Dark Yugi is.
Okay.
He's having this, like, crisis, and his eyes are all, like, glazed over. And because he can't consent to taking the chips, instead, it's Anzu who says, I'm going to duel you in Yugi's place. And if I win, then I'll get the chips and I'll give them to Yugi.
Okay.
Like, it is this, a small proxy duel, and she has to, like, and she is like, yeah, I haven't done a whole lot this time, but I'm also a duelist. Like, I beat Jonouchi at the start of this.
Yeah,
I am better than he is. And she's got this, like, deck based around all these, like, cutesy little, like, blob fairies, like, not, like, tiny fairies, but, like, like, the ones that are just, like, circles.
Okay.
The most cute shit. And it is, like, it is this fight in which she's, trying to show that she, cares and she gives a shit. She holds up to Mai really, really well for someone who is, not a professional duelist, and Mai's about to lose, or like Mai has, a card that could, allow her to win right in the very last moments, and in the last moment she's like, God damn it, she came so far. I'll let her have this one.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. That's a good ass filler shit.
Yeah, like, one thing I really appreciate about the anime as a whole is that they do give the rest of the cast more time than the manga does.
Yeah, I was really hoping there was going to be more downtime as well. Like, just them being friends, talking, laughing about jokes and stuff as they're, like, going from duel to duel.
Yeah, there's not that much more, but, just by the nature of anime being anime, because they have to fill time somehow, there is more of that.
Okay.
And it really helps because, we don't have all the stuff prior to the start of Duelist Kingdom. So it's a real, like, this is also vital to show you why all these people like Yugi and what their dynamics are and, like, what are these people.
Yeah.
Whereas if they didn't do that, it would just be like, yeah, it's Yugi and Jonouchi and then some random other people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas, like, you do get the sense that, like, like Anzu cares about them, and she is the heart. She is the one screaming at people, saying like, "Why are you such a piece of crap?" Or like you gotta knock yourself out of this. You can do it. Honda's, like he's the quiet one up until they get into the castle, but he's around too. And then Bakura is like, he's got the struggle with his dark spirits, and because we don't have the setup with that, it is more of a constant like, what's going on with him? Like, what's going on with the Millennium Ring?
Yeah, totally get that. Very glad to hear that there's more stuff like that. So, we go in the castle. We get to, finally, Kaiba versus Pegasus. It's a pretty quick one, but, it's just the setup again to how terrifying Pegasus is, but it's also our first introduction to Pegasus's true duel style, which we didn't get to see at all over the TV. That was just like, which says a whole hell of a lot that was just him doing it with a normal deck, which also explains why Yugi almost beat him.
Yeah.
Also, man, this whole plan would have been so shit if you could just beat him in the first, the first chapter or whatever. But, so, we get introduced to the Toon world.
Oh, man, all the Toon stuff.
God, absolutely fucking love the Toon world. Just everything about it's so cool. Like, I love the idea of the Toons in general. I love the idea of the Toon book. But the most thing I love is the thing that turns other cards into Toons.
Oh,
that is the shit. I love the fact that he has to come up with like 2 designs for all this shit. Oh, so amazing. Such a good idea. So fucking fun. I don't know though why everybody hates cartoons so much. Especially Kaiba hates them. So furious with them.
This doesn't make any sense for the manga, but I feel like this was perfectly timed when in the anime when we were getting like the first big wave of I hate cartoons but I love anime. Anime isn't cartoons. Anime is for 30-year-olds. Only adults watch anime in Japan.
And yeah, that doesn't make any sense for the manga because we have Manga Ryuran, which I everything about that name.
Oh, that is one of the most insane things that the localization ever did. Because, like, in the original, just to explain this, especially for anyone who, hasn't read this in a while, in the Japanese, manga even, what that is supposed to be is Pegasus is American. And so he takes, Kaiba's card, which is called Dragon Egger, and then turns it into Toon Dragon Egger. And then, as a joke, he says, or I guess you would call it Manga Ryuran.
Okay.
And like in the in the Japanese dub, for instance, like he adds on a little bit of an accent. Like he's never racist, but there is a very clear like he is very much American, and so Japanese stuff is like it's a little foreign to him. And he's a very like a childish character. Like half of him is really delving into the Toon stuff and the funny stuff and the stuff that really pisses you off. And so that's what that is supposed to be. But the localization did just go like, okay, I guess the card's called Manga Ryuran, and we're gonna call Dragon Egger Ryuran.
Fuck
And
me.
it is the only Toon card where they have to like specifically state like, yes, it is called Manga Ryuran, but this card has to be, it's always treated as just it's a Toon card because it is just a Toon card.
Yeah. God, so stupid. So stupid. I mean, just in general, I hate all the fucking name changes so much. There's some of them that I think work better in English, but what I hate the most is that it is like, because you get a whole list of all the changes every like volume, and it's so clear there is no reason why they change the names, because sometimes it'll be in Japanese in the Japanese version, so in the English version it's in English. Then sometimes it's in English in the Japanese version, so in the English version they make it in Japanese. Sometimes it's a really long name in the Japanese, so they make it a really short name in English. Sometimes it's a really short name in Japanese, so they make it a really long name in English. There's no consistency whatsoever. And then half-time there's shit like, there's a card that looks like a cat that copies cards, and it's called a copycat. And then they have another, like, they call that card, like, doppelganger or something. And then there's a whole separate card that does something else, like, in Japanese, I don't remember what it's called. It's something like, duplicator or whatever. And then they call that one copycat. Oh my god. It's like, it's just pointlessly different for no reason. Infuriating. And it's already causing so many problems. Like, when the game has actual types, I don't know how the fuck they're gonna do it, because there's so many, like, there's clearly demons already are a thing, but they're not translating demon for any card at all, so it's like, that's just gonna be a fucking problem. And then, like, there's so many cards that have a very specific thing, like a type in their name that is not included in the English version. So many.
One of my favorite examples is Winged Dragon, Guardian of the Fortress #1, which in Japanese is Fortress Protecting Winged Dragon. And then, of course, we have, in English, Winged Dragon, Guardian of the Fortress #2, which in Japanese is Wyvern. They're not related in any way whatsoever. In fact, #2 is not a dragon, it is a winged beast.
Fuck me.
It is the ultimate, like... It really is just the card design is similar. Like, one of them is clearly just like, a repeat of the other one that, I think it's based on like just, some of the small art that Takahashi did of like, here's just a bunch of random cards. And they're like, let's make these a pair.
Oh, I hate the fucking name changes so much.
It sounds like a parody of name changes in anime.
Like, even something as simple as, like, why is Dark Magician Dark Magician? Especially in a series where dark is a big thing. Like, a jargon term, essentially. Like, we have Dark Yugi, Dark Bakura, and then we also have Dark Magician, but there's no normal magician. It is Black Magician, like you would for like any wizards, where you have like the red wizard, the black wizard, the blue wizard, but like instead of wizard is magicians, like blue magician, red magician, black magician. But no, it's Dark Magician. Why? No idea. No idea.
That's the dub, baby.
It's not even the dub, it's just Viz as well.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I don't know which came first, to be fair. I assume the dub came first.
Yeah. And so
yeah,
Viz
that is a dub problem.
Yeah, and Viz is just like picking up on what the cards and what the dub is doing, but also not really with any like cooperation. It seems like they are just like watching the anime and going, okay, we'll use that.
Yeah. I also like I assume it's references to the dub, but now I'm constantly questioning myself, like, is this in the Japanese? Like, Prize Hunter Keith calls Jonouchi Joey, and it's like, is that in the Japanese? Because Jonouchi could maybe be shortened to Joey. Like, I could see that being a nickname even in Japanese, but I don't think so. But still, I don't know.
Yeah.
So many weird shit going on with that.
So much.
Anyway. I mean, like also just in general, the release for Duelist is so much more garbage than the release for the original Yu-Gi-Oh manga, which both were being published at the exact same time, but for some reason they were like, put all our good people on Yu-Gi-Oh original and put all of our worst people on Duelist.
Can't explain it, don't understand it. Like, it really has to just be, we need to put this out in order to, like, meet demand for all the people who love Yu-Gi-Oh! And so we're going to really rush to the one that everyone is going to want to check out because it's what the anime is.
Yeah. Oh. Anyway. That's the Toon World. Also, Toon World bringing back the thing that, like, it came up, like, a couple times in Duelist Kingdom, but not that much. But the fact that there's, like, dodging in Yu-Gi-Oh!
Oh, yeah.
Again, I'm not sure if that's going to become a bigger thing now that we have Toon World, but it seems like only Toon World is the cards they're doing dodging now. I don't really know. Unclear. Like everything in Yu-Gi-Oh! Very unclear. And by Yu-Gi-Oh! I mean like the card game.
Yeah.
But anyway, Kaiba versus Pegasus, he traps him in a card, like he trapped Mokuba in a card, and then, there's not much to say about that one. It was just a hype up for Pegasus. Having Kaiba job to him, it's a classic.
Yeah, we see that Pegasus can read his mind, which is terrifying. We see that his cards are insanely strong, which is terrifying. And I love specifically, like, Pegasus's focus on the concept that cartoons don't die.
Yeah.
And knowing, like, where he goes from there, it makes so much sense that, like, that is the thing he fixated on of, when I was a kid, this was the stuff that made me really happy. It still makes me happy. It reminds me of, a time when things were better. And also, cartoons do not die.
Yeah. And, like, I really love that outlook. Like, that's the kind of shit I love about Pegasus. And, like, I might like his character a lot more in retrospect, like, when I'm looking back on it and stuff. And again, I do like him. I just feel like I need to justify him not being in my top 5.
Oh, yeah. Fair enough.
But, I do love, like, everything about him. I love how, like, antagonistic he is and gets under your skin and all that shit and everything. And again, like, I love the mentality of these cartoons don't die and all that stuff. And, I mean, like, I've never seen any character in anything that likes funny animal comics. And, like... like, it was going on so much that I had to, like, Google it to, like, show people in my reactions this shit, because it's like, like, as he brings up, like, oh, it's like a cartoon, but it's like, it still doesn't even look like a cartoon. It looks exactly like a funny animal comic from the 50s being animated. Like, it looks nothing like any cartoon that has ever actually been animated. It's so specific in what it is, and I don't know how Takahashi found those. Like, man, how the fuck did Takahashi get his hands on funny animal comics? How? I mean, to be fair, they were being, like, primarily done during the war, so, like, maybe they came over to Japan that way or something? Like, I don't know.
Maybe, because there is, like, there is this burst of, like, there are a lot of mangaka who do know a lot of stuff about comics in particular. And, like, we saw with, what was his name? Zombire. The Takahashi, is also, like, he had his finger on the pulse of, like, the edgy, 90s comic book boom as well.
Yeah. Like, yeah, that's what I was thinking of, like, when you think of comic, like, especially when I see mangaka do stuff with comics, it is that era, the 90s era. And so, yeah, very smart. I mean, like, again, we had that with Zombire. We had that with the American Hero arc. Like, so it was wild that he knows about that, but he also knows about, like, the fucking 1950s comics.
Yeah, because Pegasus is also not that old.
No. And, like he is, especially Funny Rabbit is, like, straight up looks exactly like so many of those characters, like 1-to-1, versus, like, Funny Rabbit doesn't look like, like, even in the style of, like, Bugs Bunny or anything.
Yeah,
but, like, it's definitely inspired by, like, Bugs Bunny and stuff like that, but the, like, visual design of it is so clearly funny animal comics. It sounds so, I hate saying that, it sounds so stupid.
That's the term.
It is the term. I mean, it's what the comics say on the title themselves.
By the way, for anyone watching who got triggered when I said the Pegasus isn't very old, because this is something that most people don't know, actually. Pegasus is 24.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I would have assumed he was like 22.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we see both in the manga, like, the manga just explicitly states, yes, he is 24, like, earlier on.
Oh,
and
yeah,
then,
that's right.
Yeah, and then, like, in his backstory, we know exactly how old he was, when his wife died, and then we know exactly how much time has passed since then. Or, the person he was, the person he loved.
Yeah, they say his lover. I don't think it was his wife, because she died when he was, like, 17 or whatever, or even younger than that.
It was when they were 18, I believe.
Man, he looked so much younger than 18 when he went to Egypt.
Mm-hmm.
He looked like he was fucking, like, 15.
That's what grief does to a guy.
It makes you younger. That's why they say all the presidents, when they leave office, they immediately become way younger.
Man, I remember when I was a kid just being stunned that Pegasus was in love with a woman. It messed me up as a kid. That was the final twist of Duelist Kingdom to me.
Yeah, I mean, I thought the woman on the fucking painting was like his mother or something, and it was like, oh no, that was an 18-year-old girl.
Mm-hmm.
Man, again, nothing about Pegasus seems like he is an American at all, though. Like, no. He feels so British.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, very surprised he's American. Doesn't feel like it at all.
I believe in the dub they try to make him more European, because of course in the dub, all the characters are American.
Oh yeah. Oh wait, they are? Oh my god.
Like, even if they don't state it, but it is, it's the classic 4Kids thing of, we're going to keep it very ambiguous, and if anything would imply that they are, that they are from Japan, we have to remove it.
Yeah.
Like, there's a bunch of Japanese
all
words
the characters are very Westaboos anyway.
Yeah.
There's not a whole lot of, like, working around you gotta do.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of which, I cannot wait to, like, get back to Japan and that we get to see them eat their first burger after being on this island for so long. But yeah, so then we get getting into our actual, like, championship matches, which is really just 2 and then the final one, because Jonouchi and Yugi decide not to duel, which again is so surprising. I just want to talk about that actually really quick first. That was so surprising because there's so much drama to be had there, but realistically, yeah, why would they? Like, Yugi can just give Jonouchi the money. Truthfully, there's no way that Jonouchi will be able to go up against Pegasus, and, like, as an audience we know this, but, like, still I was expecting us to do this match and have to pretend that maybe Jonouchi might win. Like, I'm so glad that we didn't do all that, and even though it was insanely disappointing, like, it's like, well, we're definitely going to get that way later on, and it will be much better later on, because there will actually be stakes that matter, and not, like, this fake stakes that we're doing. And, like, I think it's mostly disappointing if you were reading this week to week, where you're, like, really excited for that, and then you go, oh, wait, we're not doing that? But then you realize, and then by the end of the chapter, you're like, oh, wait, that means Yugi versus Pegasus is next week.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. Like, they hit you with the disappointment, but then immediately hit you with the hype right after.
Yeah. And I will say, Yugi versus Jonouchi is in the anime, and it is, like, one of my favorite parts of the arc.
I mean, I imagine there's a hell of a lot of drama that would go on there and that, but it would still feel like fake drama to me.
See, the difference I would say is it is not a who will win, even though, like, it's a bit framed like that, but it is mostly like, can Jonouchi do this? Like, Pegasus can read both their minds anyways, so he knows how they duel. It doesn't matter. Like, I do think, like, the manga version makes more sense, to make it perfectly clear. Because also, like, Yugi's not going through, like, the emotional stress of having to fight his best friend and all that.
Yeah.
But I have to just, I love that the anime does do it, and that it is a clear, like, this is not a, like, obviously, like, we know Yugi has to win because he's the only one who has even a chance of beating Pegasus. But, like, how far can Jonouchi go? Like, is, like, after all this time, is he a good enough duelist in order to actually beat Yugi?
And I think the reason why, like, I think that's really cool, but the reason why I'm like, I don't know if I would even like that, is because I do think, like, when I thought it was going to happen in the manga, I was really into it and very excited for it and couldn't wait for it. But now I'm way more hyped for it, because when it does happen, it's going to be, like, one, when Junichi is stronger and I can actually go, maybe he can actually go toe-to-toe now. And, like, I assume it'll be higher stakes. It'll be, like, you know, a better reason to be dueling each other.
Yeah.
Now, if Jonouchi and Yugi never duel after this, like, again, like, against each other, then I will be extremely disappointed. But they have to at some point. There's so much left in the series.
Yeah. Also, I will show you this later, but because, you know, 4Kids butchers the episodes and they, you know, cut out so much stuff, but right before they duel in the anime, in the dub specifically, 4Kids did make a short AMV to hype up the duel. And it is, it's so cheesy, but goddamn it, every time I watch it, I still think it's not a good AMV, but it is cool.
Because it's official, that is so fucking funny and cool that they did that at all. Like, there's so much shit people give for 4Kids, but 4Kids is not, like, I hate the fact that, like, you know, the shit like this, where it's like, you know, there's no anime, like, for Yu-Gi-Oh! That isn't, like, I mean, I guess I don't know. The Japanese version of Duelist Kingdom is, like, I guess what I'm saying is, like, there's no dub for Yu-Gi-Oh! That isn't the 4Kids one, right?
No. I believe, like, they were starting to do, like, uncensored dubs of the anime, but they never finished them.
Okay. Because, like, that's the shit that bothers me. Of, like, you know, like, even though it's wild, because, like, the only one that I know that does do that is Yu-Gi-Oh! Or, sorry. The only one I know that does do that is One Piece. And that's also, like, they did hundreds of episodes, and then Funimation started after them, and then went back and did all those beginning ones as well. But still, the 4Kids for One Piece is fucking terrible. It's garbage.
Yeah.
There's nothing good about it. Versus, like, the 4Kids for, like, Yu-Gi-Oh! Has a lot of cool shit to it, too. And, like, same with, like, some other series. But I would really want there to be also an official dub that doesn't cut out all that shit and doesn't, like, mix stuff around and everything like that. But at the same time, with Yu-Gi-Oh!, the anime itself is so fucked already with how they've done stuff that it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Like, it's the kind of thing where it's like, I wish the anime just didn't adapt the early Yu-Gi-Oh! Stuff and just said, if you want to see it, go watch season 0. If you don't want to see it, then who cares? Like, I hate that they had a middle ground there, because that fucks everything up.
Yeah.
But, yeah. So, I do like that, you know, 4Kids does, and, like, the shit that 4Kids does in commercials and, like, in between episodes, that shit is golden. It will never go away. It's amazing.
Yeah, and I do think that, like, after Duelist Kingdom, for better and for worse, they realized, like, oh man, people really, really love this series, and they really love what the original is, so they toned down a lot of the, like, cuts and stuff. But that also means, like, they stopped doing, like, as much music and stuff as well. Like, they still did, you know, in-betweens and whatnot. But, I mean, we went from Duelist Kingdom where, like, the Player Killer of Darkness / PaniK has his own song that is just about him.
Does it play in episode?
I don't think it plays in the episode, but I remember hearing it on TV, so I don't know when that happens.
Huh. Yeah, I don't know.
That might have also been, like, a promo
credits
thing.
Or something, or promo.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. 4Kids was the promo kings. I don't know if anything is as, like, makes me want to watch stuff than 4Kids promos.
Like, it still blows my mind nowadays. You know, like, I'll watch normal, like, you know, a kid's channel, and it's fine. And they'll have, like, the, you know, like, next is this series, and, like, a, you know, funny quote about it or something. But for kids, like, every single week, they would do a specific, like, this is this episode of Yu-Gi-Oh! We're going to hyper-tailor, like, this exact thing to it. And if, you know, if it's coming after Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, then we're going to reference how both series in these episodes, you know, had a ninja in them or something crazy like that.
Yeah.
It is the most, like, there's so much effort being put into this for so little return.
Yeah, I mean, even, like, the promo and shit of just, like, Yugi is dueling somebody, and oh no, he spilled his soda all over his duel cards. Or fucking like, Yugi's trying to order a burger, but Dark Yugi doesn't want the burger.
This also, for anyone who didn't grow up with, that era of television, every single thing we have said this entire reaction must sound like we are losing our minds.
Yeah. Oh. My God, I love this fucking early, like, I've seen a couple of them already just because I love them so much, and like, I've seen one where it's like outtakes of Jonouchi's hair falling down, and like, I had to put hairspray to keep it up, and like, it's so fun, I love that shit.
Yeah.
But, anyway, now we're moving into the championship matches. We have specifically Dark Yugi versus Mai. And like, yeah, I like, every other duel has been a little bit of Yugi and Dark Yugi, or if it is like mostly Dark Yugi, it's not like the full Dark Yugi experience,
Yeah.
But in this, we do get the full Dark Yugi experience, fucking sexism and all. The number one character trait of Dark Yugi is that he hates women. Can't explain it, don't know why, but it is so consistent. He absolutely hates women. But yeah, like, that whole duel is just about like Mai. Honestly, like, if Mai was going up against, the Yugi that has been dueling everybody else in this tournament, she would have lost in a heartbeat. But she is going up against somebody who is, is not looking at her, just looking straight past her at Pegasus, thinking about the next duel, not paying attention, rushing into battle, being a sexist asshole, and like underestimating her entirely. And she nearly whoops his ass. It sounds like the same sort of thing that was going on with Anzu, where it's like she kind of almost lets him win a little bit. Like, she was going easy on him.
Yeah.
And so, like, I really loved that duel so much, so good. The only bad part about it was the lesbians don't exist. Big gotcha moment. But aside from that, it was really good. And, again, just Mai now speaking to, and like, Mai wasn't there for the whole Anzu talk at all, but yet Mai then having like what Anzu talked down Kaiba, like, dressed him down, and Mai now having to dress down Dark Yugi of being like, go fuck yourself, you're putting your big pride, and like, it's not even like the pride, like, you are just not focused on this at all, and you are like, if you are not treating your opponent with respect and everything like that, then you're going to lose, because anybody can beat you if you're not taking this seriously.
Yeah.
And, like, speaking to the Yugi inside as well, like, are you just going to let this happen? You're just going to let your grandpa be stuck in a thing forever because you don't want to, fucking come out and say something and take control of this and do what you know is the right thing to do here?
Yeah.
Yeah, just such a good back-to-back Anzu having to dress down Kaiba and then Mai having to dress down Yugi.
I love it. I love it so much.
Yeah, you need to put your all into this shit or you're gonna lose. So then we have Jonouchi versus the prize hunter, Bandit Keith. Also, is his name Keith Howard in the dub? I assume so.
It's just Bandit Keith.
Oh, okay.
Like, I assume, like, there might be something out there that says his name is Keith Howard, but in Japanese, it's Keith Howard. In English, it is Bandit Keith. That's just his name, first name, last name.
Okay, sure. Why not? Why not? Is Bakura in the... I think we already covered that. Yeah, he is Bakura in the dub.
Yeah, he's Ryo Bakura.
Yeah. But anyway, so... We have Bandit Keith stealing Jonouchi's card and all that, and then him going after Yugi and trying to beat up Yugi when Yugi finds him, and then Jonouchi beats the shit out of him too. Again, beat the shit out of this grown adult. Always love it.
I love it. I love that whole situation. I love, like, Keith, like, sneaking into a kid's room to steal his card. I love Yugi, like, letting him go for a second when he's like, yeah, don't worry, bye. And he's like, wait a minute, that's not Jonouchi, what the hell?
Yeah. such a good moment. And like the fact that like nobody ever finds out that he stole the card, which is like, God, that hurts for Jonouchi, because again, like we don't ever see this, but Jonouchi is absolutely the kind of person who would lose his fucking card and not be able to find it, and like he's just such a sloppy, messy character that it just makes sense. And so he immediately blames himself. Everybody else, even Yugi, are like, you know, Dark Yugi even, are like, you know, big Gary Stu protagonist man, does not go like, oh, there's no way Junichi would lose the card. What's going on here? Like, he is like, God damn it, Junichi, how could you do this? And like, oh, love that, like, it never comes to light. And but then Mai gives him her card. And, because like, again, if Mai hadn't given that riddle of what is something you can see but you can't show, or whatever the fuck that riddle is.
It is something you can show but can't see.
Sure. And like, she would not have even gotten to the point where she is at, let alone been able to like go up against Yugi the way she was.
Yeah.
And so Jonouchi versus Bandit Keith. I love the way Bandit Keith fights. His machine deck, so fucking cool. All of them have absolute banger designs. The slot machine fucking sucks dick. Get that shit out of here. Terrible. But other than that, so cool. Love it. Everything. Like, just, I love the designs. Love it all. It was so good. Like, the whole match was amazing. I'm not going to try and like go over the whole thing. Just go watch my reaction. It was amazing.
Of course. Yeah, this really highlights to me like how good Takahashi is as an artist. Because like there's just so many cards in Yu-Gi-Oh that are, you know, so differing in appearance. And a lot of the stuff we see is, you know, like general like fantasy stuff. So something like, you know, the machine deck really stands out to me as a clear, like, this is a totally different aesthetic, but also it fully fits within the series. And that is like, you know, I mean, that was what he was doing in the first series with just, you know, all the character designs of all of these are so weird and strange, but they all still fit the series so well.
Like, God, Takahashi is the master of design. There's so many other series where I can be like, damn, these characters are, like, some of the best designs I've ever seen. But, like, not on the level of, like, Yu-Gi-Oh! Having thousands of designs that all look so different, that all look so good. Like, some of them are a little bit mid, maybe, but they're not shit. There's none that are shit.
Yeah.
And so, that's incredible. Absolutely incredible. And the ones that aren't that good are, again, the ones that he just didn't have the time to put a ton of effort into. And if he did have the time that he did, like, in early Yu-Gi-Oh!, I imagine that they would have looked insanely good.
Yeah. Like, it really holds Yu-Gi-Oh! Apart from a lot of the other, like, copycat series that are cropping up after this time. Like, you know, like Duel Masters. Because a lot of those series, it's very clear, like, okay, these are the cards that I want to play because they look good, and oh no, I can't play all of them because, you know, they're like, there's 2 good cards for each, like, type of mana or whatever the series is doing.
Yeah.
And on top of that, also the game is basically just Magic the Gathering because the creator wasn't insane like Takahashi and wasn't like, well, what if the game was D&D now?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he has such an insane, like, just, again, from the early Yu-Gi-Oh! 2, Takahashi doesn't fully think out what these games are. He just has a cool idea and does it, but it doesn't have to make sense at all. And it's kind of infuriating, kind of cool. It's what it is.
Yeah, it really is that kind of situation where, like, it's not a good way to do a series, but it is, like, it creates something unique. And because he made a good series, you know, you have to admit that it's really, really strong. It's really, really cool. It just works somehow. But if you try to copy it, it's not going to work if you're not exactly as insane as Takahashi in the exact way he is.
Yeah. Also, just once again, it gotta mention that, like, when we get the big, like, they're about to duel and everything like that, and, like, even as they start to duel, and Bandit Keith is like, oh, have you been to hell? Have you been in a situation where you had to kill somebody just to survive? And he doesn't even say he has. He's just, like, kind of implying it. But it's like, you know, yeah, he has. Jonouchi has murdered somebody with his own 2 hands already. He has been in a situation where he was going to die if he did not murder somebody. Have you killed somebody? You're implying it, but have you actually done it? Have you gone face to face with a serial killer in a pit full of oil? I don't think so. Have you gone up against somebody with a chainsaw? No. Have you had your head in a literal guillotine? I didn't think so.
Yeah, like, it says so much about Jonouchi as a character that, like, he will brag about things sometimes, but in this moment, when he's being completely serious, he doesn't go over, like, all the ways in which he is so much harder of a person than Keith is.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, I don't think Jonouchi would be the kind of person to brag about killing somebody because it was pretty traumatic, Yeah. It was a do or die situation and he had to kill the guy. But, like, even aside from that, like, it shows that he doesn't brag of, like, I've literally fought for 8 hours straight, or not fought, I've been beaten up for 8 hours straight, just getting punched in the face over and over again, and then I went and took on, like, 20 dudes myself, after I was just beaten up for 8 hours! Like, you can't talk shit to me, I'm a super badass! Oh my god. I mean, he was strung up on a fucking, like, rope and tased with, like, the amount of electricity that would kill any normal human over and over again. And then he beat the shit out of them. I mean, he also let himself be hit by, like, 1,000 yo-yos being flung at him. He has gone through some shit, okay?
Yeah.
And so, like, yeah, just love Jonouchi just hearing all that shit and just be like, shut up and play the fucking game. It's so, like, yeah, we know. You shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
And we also have Pegasus making Ben and Keith go through the penalty game of... Well, the only time where it seems like the penalty game isn't an in-your-mind thing, and he did literally turn his gun into a hand and make him kill himself.
His hand into a gun, rather.
Sorry. But yeah, because, like, we do see a blood splatter, and, like, all the fucking, like, they do it off camera, as in, like, you can't see this, because this is actually happening. Even though we've seen a serial killer be burned alive. So, I mean, we've seen multiple people in the series be burned alive, but...
Yeah.
But yeah, that one had to be off camera. We see the blood splatter, and like all of Pegasus's goons are like, "Holy shit, that guy just killed himself." So I think he actually died. I don't know how that works at all, but it's. Well, I mean, to be fair, Yugi did turn somebody's eyes into literally a mosaic, assumingly for the rest of their life, and like he's done similar stuff. He's done that twice actually. And he's done similar stuff. So I guess you can physically alter somebody's body with the Shadow game.
Yeah, or it could be like when Shoddy was killing people, where it feels exactly real, but there is no actual like damage.
But then what about the blood splatter?
Could be metaphorical.
I mean, yeah, it could be. But still, I don't think the goons would have the reaction they did if it wasn't that.
Yeah. No, I do agree with you.
But yeah, so at the very least, if it was all in his head, it was so intense that he like popped a fucking blood vessel and his brain burst or whatever. I could
100% see that.
Yeah. I mean, Bandit Keith is someone who feels like he is strung out on PCP constantly, so, like, I would not be surprised if he had a fucking aneurysm.
Yeah! He is not a healthy guy.
No. So, then we get into our final match, Yugi versus Pegasus. If you want to say it, Yugi and all of his friends versus Pegasus, technically, because they all are basically a part of it too.
Yeah.
Once again, absolutely loved like these championship matches. Ever since we go to Kaiba versus Yugi, from then on, it's fucking golden. There's a couple moments every time where I'm like, oh, that's fucking stupid. But for the most part, finally, like the whole match is like amazing from start to finish, and it's so good. Again, we get to see so many more Toon monsters, and I love them all. They're so good. They're so good. We get to have the Kuribo thing come back, which might be Yugi's like specialty now. Because I do think it's interesting that like Yugi doesn't really have like a deck style or a specialty at all, which is very interesting. But it makes sense as a protagonist.
Yeah, like the closest you can really get at this point is like fantasy creatures, even though everyone else is also using fantasy creatures.
Yeah, like there's no like, and like what does fantasy creatures mean? It's not like a deck type.
Yeah.
Versus like Jonouchi at least has like the Time Wizard and the Baby Dragon is like his big thing, but like Yugi doesn't have like a this is my strategy sort of thing. He just has a bunch of different shit. But like Kuribo and Multiply might be his like big thing now. But anyway, so yeah, just a dope match in and of itself. Like just the cards themselves, like that side of things, very very awesome. The one thing I'm disappointed in is that like we know he can read minds, and Yugi was still like, I'm gonna test for a couple of turns and see if he can read my mind. Oh whoa, he can read my mind. That's crazy. Like, come on, you fucking idiot. What are you doing?
Yeah, like I would have been a lot happier if it was an immediate like, okay, I'm going to start just like I know he can read my mind, so I'm going to try this and see if this won't work. Okay, no, that does, he can still read it. What if I try this? No, he can still read it.
Yeah, instead of just I'm going to play normally to test him. No, you got 3 lives on the line, technically 4 because the money too. You got 4 lives on the line. You can't do this. But then eventually we get to the whole mind swap thing, like tag teaming out Yugi and Dark Yugi, and the fact that like we're playing a shadow game now, which has never really been the case before, but like we're playing like a legit kind of shadow game. Seems like it's on another level than before. Which, to be fair, we did have before a like shadow game level 2, I think he called it, or maybe he said something else. Do you remember what
I think it was level 2.
It was just level 2. So I guess this might be a level 2 or level 3 or something. I'm not really sure what any of that shit means, but there's precedent for it at least. But anyway, like Yugi's soul can't handle it very much. Eventually, he passes out. First off, I just love the idea of the mind swapping between the two and having a reason for Yugi and Dark Yugi to be like fighting together. So fucking dope.
It is the coolest shit.
Yeah, also a really dope, like, just concept of, no, he does need time to read your mind. Like, he has to do it, and then it takes some time, so if you can keep swapping out, then, like, that prevents it. Then we get what is probably the most satisfying moment in all of Duelist Kingdom, which is the thing I have hated, not even Duelist Kingdom, in all of Yu-Gi-Oh! The thing I have hated the most in all of this shit is the time that it started from the very beginning in like Death Tea when he was fighting Kaiba, where Kaiba puts the cards down on the table, but because like he's just reading the card itself and not like how do I put it? If Yugi doesn't see the 3D physical monster, he doesn't know what the fucking card is. And that's been so consistent, and also consistent only with Yugi, to where he can recognize every card, but only if he sees the 3D hologram thing. So when like Kaiba would play a card or whatever and stuff like that, he would go like, oh, I don't know what card that is, until it like comes out. It was so fucking stupid. Half the time you wouldn't know what goddamn cards Kaiba had. It was the dumbest shit ever. Then as we go on, that shit continues to happen, where like Yugi will go like, oh, I can't read the card because it's across the table and I can't read it. What is that? Or the cards would be under the water or in the darkness, and like there's just so much going on of I don't know what that card is because I can't see what it is. And so then we finally get to this arc where the reason that Pegasus loses is because Yugi's friends put their like souls into Yugi essentially, and they all physically block the card in his mind from being seen. Oh, perfection. Coming around full circle to you can't see the card, so you lose. Perfect. And the idea of like all their friends putting their souls in, and that this isn't something that is exclusive to Millennium Item stuff. Like everybody can put their souls into somebody else, and like again, it's like Shoddy has the ability to do that via one of the Millennium Items, but that's all the shit the Millennium Items can do might be shit that anybody can do if you believe hard enough, if you train hard enough, if you just sometimes can do it because you can. Like the Heart of the Cards. What is that? If not a Millennium Item, is it just something that sometimes can do that? The wind around them, all this shit. Supernatural stuff can happen just because your heart is in it. Yeah. Dope. Love that shit. Oh, I love that idea of like the Millennium Items feel so important, but in actuality, they're able to do that shit even without the Millennium Key.
Yeah. Like, I do love that. Like, it does feel like there is this underlying, rationality behind it, but also it's not like a power system. It is not and now we're going to sit down and explain precisely how this works. It is like, it makes sense on an emotional level, and that's all you really need for it. Slash, like, the blocking thing also, I appreciate in a narrative sense because, like, the start of this is, Pegasus cheating, and then, both Yugis figure out a way to properly circumvent that. And then, like, their friends, subbing in to stop the eye only comes in once, like, little Yugi is running out of stamina. It is a clear, like, we have this problem. We've had this problem ever since the start of the arc, and now we have figured out the solution. And now, like, the power of friendship is only subbing in because, like, we can't keep up that answer. But we already have the answer. We already know how to win. Now it is just a stamina thing. And now, like, our friends can sub in, and literally, like, lift us up.
Oh, it's a great ending to an arc. Amazing ending to an arc.
Yeah.
And, like, I don't need that shit to be explained. Like, it is explained in the sense that, like, I love that we have the Millennium Items, which are the explanation. Here is an item that can do this thing. There is a mechanical way that it can be done. You don't need to explain then how a person can do that, because you shouldn't. It's just, I don't know, I wouldn't want that to be explained. That is a heart thing. It is a soul thing. That shouldn't be explained. The explanation is in that, like, there is an item that can do this thing, but also people can do it if they believe hard enough, or whatever. So, Yugi beats him. We get our epilogue finding out about the mystery of the Millennium Items. Something I really wasn't expecting to get for a long time. I thought we were going to get some slow information on this stuff, but no, we get it all at once. Shoddy is the main person behind a lot of this shit. Like, I assume the descendant of people who have done this. Shoddy actually seeming quite villainous now than he was in the past, where he was just very curious of the kind of person. Then we have, which was also like, seemed so surprised that Yugi was able to, like that there was somebody with the Millennium Puzzle. But, like, I guess that was just because, like, oh, where did this Millennium Puzzle come from? I don't know. But, anyway, like, how did it get here? Blah, blah, blah. But either way, like, I'm not sure why he was so surprised, because, like, clearly, look, Yugi's a chosen one, and he knows what that is and everything like that. They're looking for them. So why was he that surprised, and why didn't he do anything about it? Don't know. But I mean, to be fair, he lost to him, and that's why he's like, okay, well, you've earned my respect. I'm not going to do anything right now. But yeah, so Shoddy seeming like, a big player, big villainous kind of player, but also not fully villainous. Like, like the only people that he is like testing the chosen ones on are people that are stealing the shit or defiling the tombs or whatever. So kind of justified. Then we have like we get exactly how Pegasus got this eye and everything like that. He tested on him. He was a chosen one. He got to actually see Cynthia like one last time, embrace her and all that. And like now we know there is an afterlife.
Oh yeah, that is extremely just in a world cosmic sense important.
Yeah. And yeah, so there's 7 Millennium items, and the ones we haven't seen yet are the crown and the scepter. So assumingly 2 new characters that are going to have those. We now know about like the chosen ones. If you can wear one of these Millennium items, then you are a chosen one. And like if you can't, you will instantly die.
Yeah, like that's the thing that like what Shoddy is doing is not good necessarily, but I can understand like his like extremely like straightforward feeling of like if you try to steal one of these or if you're drawn to them, then you might be chosen.
Yeah.
Like like I need to have the item test you regardless. Like this is to me this is not me trying to kill you. This is a like maybe you are the person who deserves to have the ring, and so you're gonna put it on. And oh, well, you died.
Yeah, and it's harkening back to his entire introduction, which was, I'm going to kill this man because, I'm not even going to kill you, I'm going to put you through this test, and if you are a morally good person, you won't die. If you are a morally bad person, you will die. And then he died because he was a morally fucked up piece of shit. The museum owner. And then in this, it is like, I'm not going to like go around testing people and everything like that. I'm only testing people who are defiling the tomb of our pharaoh. And the guy steals shit from the pharaoh's tomb, and then Pegasus is told, go home, stop, you are not meant to be in this town, this is not for you, go back home. And he doesn't, he follows them back into the tomb, and he's like, well, time for you too, buddy. And to be fair, he is going to do it on him, but Pegasus is also like, no, I want to do this. So, like, that's not even like he forced... he was going to force him into it. Let's not get that wrong. But Pegasus was the one to make the final decision.
Yeah, it's hard. Like, you can't apply this morality straightforwardly to real life. Because it is, it's the witch trial shit. It is the, like, if you are true, then you won't burn. But it is in a world where that is an actual rule of the Millennium items.
Yeah.
Like... if you do deserve to have the item, you really will not burn. And with the Millennium Puzzle, like, it is that added thing of, like, no one's ever solved this thing, and also, it's got the evil intelligence, so, like, I totally get why Shoddy, upon seeing someone who solved it, was like, well, I need to learn about this, like, what?
Yeah, that's true. I forgot about the solving the puzzle bit. That's also probably a big part of it as well.
Yeah.
Also, so good that nobody was ever like, I want to wear Yugi's puzzle for a bit. Like, if he just left it somewhere and, like, someone put it on as, like, I just want to see how this looks on me. Like, thank God that never happened.
Oh, man.
Now,
Jonouchi just stole the entire puzzle and was like, I'm going to wear... he couldn't have because it was unsolved. But there's another universe where he did that and then instantly died.
Yeah. But this does mean... I'm going to assume that there are more chosen people than there are Millennium items. Because we do now know that from the original Yu-Gi-Oh!, Imori is a chosen one. Because he wore the puzzle and was able to wear it and not die and everything. And it makes a lot of sense because he also has a shadow game passed down to him from his grandfather that wasn't an Egyptian one, it was a Chinese one. But still, it makes a hell of a lot of sense that he was able to like that just, he had a connection to shadow game stuff, so maybe it runs in the family, like maybe grandpa's also chosen one, maybe he was able to wear the puzzle. He couldn't have wore it because, like, it wasn't completed, but, maybe it passes down the family, maybe not, who knows, but very cool that, like, I love that whole soul battle thing with Imori in the early Yu-Gi-Oh! And, it was also, like, right before we got into another Millennium item via Baccarat with the Millennium Ring. And so, like, it feels very intentional.
Yeah.
And he's the only person that has worn the Millennium Puzzle other than Yugi. And, like, and he was playing a shadow game and stuff like that. It's gotta be intentional. Now, is he gonna come back? I don't know. But I feel like it's intentional, maybe even just to say... to set up that there are more chosen than there are Millennium items. There's not necessarily one for each one. If he does come back, I'm guessing he's going to have the crown.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't know if he will, because again, his was a whole like Chinese shadow game thing. So
Yeah.
but again, I do love that too. That there's like, we're focusing so much on this Egyptian stuff, but this is stuff that a lot of cultures have, and we're just really focusing and honing in on one specific cultures.
Yeah, like there
And
is an
assuming, like, the
entire
original.
world. It's just like Yugi and like Yugi is in this family, and the puzzle is in his house. Like there's a clear reason why we're focusing just on this specifically.
Yeah. So yeah, not a whole lot to say or guess about the Millennium items because it's really just all laid out for us. The only like mystery is like who has the crown and who has the staff, but that's not really something I can even, harken a guess at.
Yeah.
But then we also get Dark Bakura coming back out again, ripping out Pegasus's eye, replacing it with the replica eye. Why? I have no idea. I called it earlier that I thought Pegasus, like, even though he clearly gouged out his eye to put in the Millennium Eye, I was guessing like it was just kind of like sat in there and not like attached to anything specific. And so Bakura was going to like while he was sleeping or something, like swap it out with the replica that we see him take. But like no, he just rips it out and then gives him a replica. Like why? What is it gonna do? It's like, do you think he's gonna wake up and be like, oh, somebody ripped out my eye. Oh, never mind, it's right here. Okay, thank God. But yeah, hardcore Bakura seeming like actually going to be our main villain of the series. Like he is the thief. Like if, as I stated way back in a Monster World, if the Millennium Puzzle is the main centerpiece, then the ring is the main like villain piece. And I don't like it might be the only one in which there is like a true villain trapped inside versus the other ones were like, even though it's evil, they were more like I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with that. Like Yugi's is definitely evil, but it's evil in quotes. Like it's very like old timey kind of evil. It's very old timey punishment.
Yeah, like Dark Yugi is someone who can be reasoned with. Like even before Yugi interrupting, like he's been getting softer, and this is the big like okay, now Yugi's putting a stop to the let's murder people.
Yeah. Now, what Bakura is going to do with an eye that he can read minds with? That's going to be interesting. Or maybe he's going to go around dusting people.
Maybe.
I don't know why he would, though. But
yeah,
he wants all the items.
I really appreciate that, Pegasus is the final boss of the arc, and we have a clear reason why, Yugi doesn't kill him, which is, the fact that Dark Yugi was confronted with the concept of an evil intelligence, and that is what made him go like, oh, am I evil? I'm gonna not kill Pegasus because I don't want to prove that I am evil.
Yeah.
And then we still, he still gets his comeuppance, via Bakura, but it is this 1-2 punch of this, it shows that our hero is changing as a person, but then also Pegasus doesn't get away scot-free.
Yeah, I mean, he gets his fucking eye ripped out. It's brutal as hell. But it's not as his real eye, so it's not. But there's a lot of blood there. Also, Bakura licking it is so fucking so edgy and cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, super fucking hype. I mean, also, just to going back to, I mean, Pegasus kind of deserved it a little bit from everything he's fucking done, trapping people's souls and shit, and planning to just keep them there forever, and everything going on. Also, man, he did all this when all he had to do was go, hey, Kaiba, can I have one of those dual discs? That's it. It's all he needed to do. Literally, that's all he needed to do. Hey, you know how we worked on the dual boxes? Can I also work on the dual discs with you? Just ask, man. Just ask. Why'd you have to trap people's souls in cards?
I mean, that's the difference between, a neutral character and a villain.
Yeah, exactly.
There's truly no reason, but I love, I love this as his motivation, as, and also the reason why he would want to get into, hologram technology and all of that.
Yeah. And yeah,
Also,
it's like
just,
it's not quite the same, but like it's also like I wonder, like I assumed he was going to be around a little bit more in the series, but he could also just kill himself after this, because I don't know if the Millennium Eye let him, like he said that was the only time that he was able to meet Cynthia, so I doubt it. But like having the Millennium Eye might, like he might have been like, well, right, they want all the Millennium items together so that way they can like open up the gateway, right?
Yeah.
So like I assume maybe you can't get, well, I guess maybe if you kill yourself you can't go to heaven. It might be that sort of rules.
Maybe.
So like you would have to either die in a battle like fucking Valhalla, or like he's just like, well, I just want to open the doorway so I can still be alive and see Syndria.
Cynthia.
Just said it. Cynthia. Whenever I want to, but I'll also still be alive and be able to enjoy life here as well. Because yeah, it might be a bit risky to kill yourself and hope that you go to heaven and then find out nope, you go to hell with Bandit Keith.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then at the very end of the arc, we have, you know, getting back on the helicopter and it's like Seto very begrudgingly letting them all on. Mai having to like jump on the very last moment.
Oh yeah.
Jonouchi almost falling out of the fucking helicopter.
God, I adore this ending so much. Just because like they didn't need to do it. They could have just been like, yeah, and of course there's a big ship that takes the winner away. But it is a clear like, no, fuck you.
Yeah. Love it. Everything about this arc was so very, very fun. And I like that we had like a huge Duelist Kingdom end. Like,
yeah.
I wish more series did that kind of shit. Like, even JoJo, most of the times where you get the big end of an part, like part 5 end, part 6 end, blah, blah, all that stuff, it's only in the volumes. You don't even get that in the fucking actual manga. Like, you know, if you were reading it week to week. So it's like, you know, this is one of the only arcs where I've ever seen this actually done. I'm not even going to count JoJo, because if you only get that in the volumes.
Yeah, and you know this was in, you know, like, in the weekly release, because you can't end this one page before. Yeah. It's not possible.
I mean, like, yeah, so many of the JoJo parts end extremely abruptly, because, like, if you don't have that final page, which is usually added, I mean, not usually, is always added in the volumes, then you know, it just ends, like, part 6 ends on a fucking dime. It just ends suddenly in the middle of a conversation.
Yeah. I mean, like, that is, you know, the end of part 8 threw so many people for a loop because it is so weird. And it's so unlike, you know, all the other volume ones, and people had to say, like, no, listen, there's always a, you know, a 2-page added at the end of each volume.
Yeah, I imagine.
Like, this will... Yeah.
Like, I haven't gotten to that, but I imagine that must have been so weird for people that, like, don't remember that, or just didn't know that in general, and, like, just being like, why is this the only one that didn't do that?
Yeah.
That's something that has cursed One Piece for forever, of people not reading, like, catching up on One Piece and a recent thing, and they're like, why didn't this thing happen? And it's like, that's never been the case. It's a curse of people catching up on old series that have had shit added in other things, or, like, anime-only stuff, and blah, blah, blah.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, so, that was all of Duelist Kingdom, rather. I will also give my top 5 monster designs. If I had to make a top 5 card designs, I wouldn't know how to do that. So, top 5 monster designs. Number 1 is Kuribo. I love the design of Kuribo. It's so cute. It's so adorable. I love it.
He's a cute little guy.
Yeah. Number 2, Dark Rabbit. Absolutely love Dark Rabbit. I mean, it is the mascot character of Pegasus, though dark. But it's the most Toon, it's the most stretchy and fun, and I love it, and it's Looney Tunes-esque, and it's just, chef's kiss. Number 3, the Dark Magician of Chaos, or Black Magician of Chaos, or whatever it would be called in Japanese. Again, like, it's matching Yugi's style explicitly. Dark Magician is alright, it looks kind of cool, but Dark Magician in a gimp suit, that's where we're at. That's some good shit. That's some good shit. Number 4, a classic I assume a lot of people would have it very high up on their monster designs. Red Eyes Black Metal Dragon. Well, to be fair, one, just Black Eyes, Red Eyes Black Dragon. Dope ass design by itself. Super, super fucking cool. But Red Eyes Black Metal Dragon is even better. One of the best designs of all time. Top 5. Easily. So good. I'm honestly such a fan also of like the, certain cards with a Toon design or other cards with metal designs. Like they're just, it's just so good. Number 5. This one was very hard to pick. It really came down between 2, but I'm putting this one above it. Sword Stalker. I love Sword Stalker. I really love Sword Stalker.
I can see that.
And I'm not gonna count the new summoned version of Sword Stalker or whatever, because that's like a summoned card. I mean, I guess Dark Magician of Chaos is a summoned card too, to be fair. I guess
I'll say they're separate. It's fine.
But yeah, Sword Stalker I absolutely love. If I would put the summoned Sword Stalker actually above it, if I was to do that actually. But yeah. Both versions of Sword Stalker, absolutely incredible. Big shouts out. The one that was maybe going to be number 5 was Revolver Dragon, or I don't remember what it was called in English.
Barrel Dragon. Barrel Dragon.
But yeah, Revolver Dragon, easy close to number 5. It still might even be out Sword Stalker. Both those, so good, head to head. Love it. Again, shouts out to the pendulum one that he has. I don't remember what that one was called, but that one was a fucking dope ass design. Dragon Egger, absolutely amazing. Love Dragon Egger. Most of the time I'm going to use the English versions names of all the cards, but there's some that are just so bad in English that I cannot say fucking Mangaryuron or Barrel Dragon. They're so bad, and they're some of the best designs, so I can't believe that they're so bad in names.
Yeah. This is not something that you guys will be able to see, so I'm just gonna send this to you. This is what Revolver / Barrel Dragon looks like in the dub.
Oh fuck me! Oh,
because
it's so bad.
Because of course, you can't have revolvers in a children's show, so poor kids just painted over them and made them laser guns.
It doesn't even look like laser guns. It looks like Pez dispensers. Oh, I hate it. And they're so completely different colored too. It's so bad.
Oh yeah. It is the most edited thing in the world.
Disgusting. Also, shouts out to the classics. Again, they were very close, but Summon Skull and Blue Eyes White Dragon, both those excellent designs. Very close to the top 5 as well, but yeah. Those are my top 5 monster designs.
Very respectable list. Love it.
Anything else you want to talk about?
We've gone through more or less everything. I do think the manga ending of this is better than the anime version, just because they had to fill some time. So they move Bakura. How do I put this? So at the night before the finals, instead of Bakura and
Honda,
and Honda trying to save Mokuba, they instead have it be the gang trying to figure out how Pegasus cheats, with the idea being that during the finals, then Honda is going to go on his rescue mission and try and save Mokuba.
Okay, but that means he's not there for the Yugi and Pegasus thing, right?
No, but he's still there in spirits.
Okay.
There are some weird additions that definitely don't make any sense. Dark Bakura is still hanging out with him, still trying to show that he's trustworthy. There's a whole bit where he summons a man-eater bug in real life and makes it eat some guards.
Okay.
Or in the 4Kids version, he summons it and it attacks the guards and we cut away.
Of course.
And there is this, in the 4Kids version only, there's this subplot where Dark Bakura is also thinking Mokuba doesn't have a soul, so I'm going to try and get my, I'm gonna get the ring onto Mokuba's corpse, and then I'll reanimate it, and then I'll have my own body.
Oh Lord.
That happens, and then once it, in both versions, once Honda's wait a minute, you're still evil, aren't you? He just grabs the ring and chucks it into the forest.
Oh my god. So they find out that he's still evil.
I believe it is Yeah, they do believe. Yeah, he's still evil, but they chuck the ring away, and it's like, all right, this is don't worry, Bakura, you're fine. Don't go looking for the ring. And the ring, the ring itself is, like it ends on this very obvious note of, but he's gonna find the ring again. We're not even gonna show him do it.
Again, though, that changes everything with the fact that they know he's evil now, and not like where it is in the manga, where they all still think he's a goody-goody boy, and nothing has been, like, happening.
Yeah. It's a weird change. It's not one of the better ones.
Yeah. Oh. But yeah, also I love the page where, Yugi's about to face off against Pegasus, and like we see all of his like most important monsters like behind him.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's so cool.
Yeah.
I appreciate Pegasus's like aesthetic of, he is playing a Toon deck, but then like he's also has like the relinquished cards and whatnot, like the more like Millennium Eye based monsters.
Yeah.
Because that is something that no one else really does in the series. Like in real life, it's very common to have like two different archetypes that you use in the same deck, as they like they work hand in hand, or I'm using this one and I can switch to this one. And I mean, it works a lot, thematically as well. It is the like, this is my, Pegasus's light side is what he wants everyone to see. It's the Toon guy. It's the guy who loves having fun, who runs a game company. And then below him is this, this darkness that is in part caused by the Eye. It is, this deep desire to save the person he loves, even if it means like, hurting a bunch of other people.
Yeah. And like, I like it specifically for Pegasus for that. I mean, to be fair, also like, Bandit Keith has that as well, where he has machine cards and also gambling cards.
Oh yeah.
But like, I kind of like it for stuff like that. But at the same time, I like it because it's all the gambling cards are also machine cards.
Yeah. To be fair.
Yeah. But I'm not a fan of it in the sense, like, I mean, I'm a fan of it because it only happens with Pegasus. But I think, like, I don't know how to put it. Like, I hope it doesn't happen too often in the future, because the number one thing I like about Yu-Gi-Oh! Is that people play very specific decks. And that is what I always, like, it's hard for me to play Magic the Gathering, because I go up against people that just use cards that are synergistic against each other, instead of, like, this is a solely Goblin deck, or a solely Elf deck, or whatever.
Right.
And it's just, like, it's boring as fuck to me, playing a card game. Like, I understand I am in the minority here, and it's crazy for me to say this. Like, people that play card games want to do the, like, fun math and, like, the what cards work well together and everything like that, whereas I want to do I just want to have fun, and I want to play a Goblin deck up against somebody else who has, like, a Dinosaur deck or something. Like, I just want, again, as I said 1,000 times in my reactions, I can't play a card game doing that. I have to make a deck that is only these kind of cards. And if there's, I can't otherwise do it. And like, even if I include spell cards and stuff, like, they have to be spell cards that make sense for the creatures in my deck to be able to do, or else I just won't do it because I'm not having fun. I'm not playing pretend. And so, like, the fact that Yu-Gi-Oh! Is entirely like that, but I still get pissed off because it's too much like that at times, where it's just like, I'm going to shoot your disc out of the sky and it's going to make your thing fall on all your creatures, and I'm like, what does that mean? Like, I hope that we get to a nice middle ground there, because Yu-Gi-Oh! Has the potential to be, like, my favorite card game of all time, even though I'm sure I would never actually play it, because I'm sure playing it is going to be the most... All I've heard about, like, playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Is that it is the most infuriating card game to ever play, like, more so now than in the past.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to have a lot of fun playing competitively, but, just with friends and, like, using, like, dueling simulators and stuff, I think you'd still have a really good time with it.
Okay. Yeah, everything I hear about Yu-Gi-Oh! Now is like, it's all about winning on the first turn.
Aw, yeah.
Like, yeah, so, not a huge, like, I can't wait to play Yu-Gi-Oh! Except for maybe, like, against you, who can humor me and put together decks that are just all one thing.
Yeah. We'll do that at some points.
Yeah.
One other thing, like related to the rules of the game, I should say, is that when the anime came out, I believe when Yugi fights Pegasus, or sorry, when Yugi fights Kaiba at the very start, Kaiba mentions like, by the way, we're using modified rules, and then in both the anime and the manga, like, Duelist Kingdom has specific rules. But in the manga, it's more of like, this is, these are the normal rules, but we've added a few twists. Whereas the anime, sorry, distracting myself. The anime, leaves it a bit more ambiguous because, of course, by the time the anime was really kicking off, the cards were already out there, and they couldn't just say like, yeah, of course, what they were doing in the anime is the same thing that you can do. So they had to make it a little more clear that, listen, they're using modified rules for this tournament, and these are very modified rules.
Oh yeah. I wouldn't say it's more specific in the manga though.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even when we get up to the championship, it's still like, okay, here's the rules of Duel Monster. When you can play monster cards on your turn. Okay, how many? What do you mean?
True.
And it's like, you can also play spell cards or trap cards or equipment cards. How many? What do you mean?
You can do it.
So, yeah, not very specific. I still don't know how the fuck Yu-Gi-Oh! Is played. No idea. I just don't know how dodging works, because sometimes it's a thing, sometimes it's not a thing. I don't know what that mechanic... Like, again, that's like, what is the dodge percentage of your card, and how do you determine... Like, nobody's rolling dice or anything like that, but they seem to know, like, the hologram just does the percentages, I guess. Because, like, it's not written on the card anywhere, like, this is a 30% chance to dodge, but... Yeah, anyway, I hope we eventually get to the point where the cards have what they do written on them. That is my main thing I'm still waiting on. I mean, I might get to the end of Yu-Gi-Oh! Double D's or whatever the fuck it's called. Like, I might get
nuts.
5, Yu-Gi-Oh! D's nuts way in the future. And, like, still they're not going to explain it, maybe. Still the cards are not going to say what they do on the card. You need like a full fucking manual for every single card.
You need to memorize what each card will do and how they will react to being sent in time 1,000 years. I don't know what to tell you.
Like, it's not even like you need to know what each card does. You also need to know how each card interacts with every other card. You need to know that certain cards aren't lesbians. Okay.
Dark Yugi, make sure there are no lesbians in his deck.
Okay, on that note, I think we're done. I think we're done. Oh, I am fucking hungry. Gotta get a burger.
Gotta get a burger.
Alright, I will see you guys for either the next discussion or the next arc when I do a video on that. I know there's a short arc coming up. I'm not sure if we're going to do another redirect video on that. I might. Or I might see you for the next big arc. I don't know. I'll see you for that. Or go on the Patreon. Watch the fucking reactions. I got Yu-Gi-Oh! Reactions there. I got One Piece reactions there. Coming soon. I got my old Gantz reactions coming back up with edited music in them and everything like that. I've got my old JoJo reactions coming back up very, very soon. Got a lot of shit. Everything I can't host on YouTube that was on a Google Drive that was taken down. Now they're not hosted anywhere, and I'm re-editing them with music. All that shit's going up on the Patreon now exclusively. So if you want that shit, you can go there. Eventually, in due time, the original Dragon Ball manga, shit like Dr. Stone, Promised Neverland, tons of shit. It's gonna be there.
Yeah.
Check it out. Till then, get the fuck out of here.